Good evening and welcome to the April 14th, 2025 Eugene City Council meeting. Thank you for joining us in this hybrid meeting format. Anyone wishing to access the meeting remotely can do so by watching the live stream on our website, the broadcast on Comcast Channel 21, or by following the access instructions listed on the city's public webcasts and meetings materials webpage. Tonight's meeting will include a public comment period. And if you wish to speak and have not already done so, please fill out a request to speak form on our public webcast and meeting materials webpage or the entrance to this room. We will accept request to speak forms until 7:35, and these forms will be used to generate the random order of speakers and correctly enter speakers' names into the public record. The public comment period will be limited to 90 minutes, or it will conclude at 10 p.m., whichever occurs first. And if the number of speakers exceeds the time we have allotted, we encourage speakers to consider abbreviating their remarks so that the maximum number of speakers can be heard. For those joining the meeting remotely for the public comment period, you are welcome to email your comments to City Council, and that is true of anyone at any time. As a reminder, City Council meeting rules of conduct include no flags, signs, loud or disruptive language, noise or conduct that obstructs the business of the Council. Please keep the room quiet and respectful for all speakers, and you are welcome to wave your hands in silent support. Additionally, we encourage all those who are ill or who have had close contact with others who are ill to join our meeting remotely rather than in person, and we have masks available in the lobby if you need one. In case of medical emergency, an automated external defibrillator, an AED, is located on the counter behind staff at the west side of the room, and emergency exits are located through the double doors at the back of the room and the double doors near the front of the room, and the doors to the patio can also be used as needed. And with that, I call the April 14th, 2025 meeting of Eugene City Council to order. And we begin with a land acknowledgement. Since time immemorial, the Kalapuya people have been the indigenous stewards to our region, building dynamic communities, maintaining balance with wildlife, and enacting sustainable land practices. This land acknowledgement is a way of resisting the erasure of indigenous histories and to honor Native communities by inviting truth and reconciliation. Following treaties between 1851 and 1855, Kalapuya people were dispossessed of their indigenous homeland by the United States government and forcibly removed to the Coast Reservation in Western Oregon. As we consider the impacts of colonization, we also acknowledge the strengths and resiliency of displaced indigenous people. The City of Eugene is built within the traditional homelands known as Kalapuya Alihi. Kalapuya descendants are citizens of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Community of Oregon and the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians of Oregon. They continue to make contributions to our communities here and across the lands. We express our respect for the inherent political sovereignty of all federally recognized tribal nations and indigenous people who live in the state of Oregon and across the nation. Our first item on tonight's agenda is ceremonial matters related to proclamations from the City of Eugene. I've asked our city to prepare 5 proclamations for the month of April, as well as a proclamation that will be shared next Wednesday, April 23rd, on Arbor Day at a tree planting. As with previous months, I'm sharing these proclamations in full through social media, at community events, and through the City of Eugene website, where all signed proclamations are available to the public. Proclamations are ceremonial documents signed by the mayor to bring attention to public awareness campaigns, charitable efforts, arts and cultural celebrations, and special honors at the recommendation of the mayor. And this month, the City of Eugene acknowledges Child Abuse Prevention Month, Fair Housing Month, Education and Sharing Day, Earth Day, and Vietnamese Remembrance Day. I invite you all to review these proclamations on the City of Eugene website and look forward to talking with you about this important work in our community. Thank you, and that concludes our first agenda item. Our second agenda item on tonight's agenda is committee reports and items of interest. I will now open the floor for committee reports and items of interest from council. Councilors, as a reminder, please press the button at the bottom of your microphone stand to unmute and mute yourself when it is your turn to speak and when you are finished. Councilors, any items? I will briefly share two. First, an opportunity for community engagement and review of the Poverty and Homelessness Board strategic plan. This plan has been many months, more than a year, in making, and the Poverty and Homelessness Board is a tripartite advisory board of elected officials, sector partners, and individuals with lived experience, working to advance a community-wide commitment to end homelessness and assist individuals who are low income with meeting their basic needs and achieving self-sufficiency. The Poverty and Homelessness Board is in the process of completing this new strategic plan, which will assist in coordinating our efforts across jurisdictions from 2025 until 2030. And there are two upcoming opportunities to engage with this draft plan in our community. One is to attend a drop-in event on Wednesday, April 23rd, between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. at the Wheeler Pavilion of the Lane County Event Center at 796 West 13th Avenue. And the other is to fill out the draft Poverty and Homelessness Board Strategic Plan Prioritization Survey by Thursday, May 1st. So you have a little bit of time. This survey has 17 questions and should take 15 to 20 minutes, and it is available on the Poverty and Homelessness Board page of Lane County's website. Thank you for your engagement and attention to this important work. Secondly, I will just say briefly that last week I was part of our annual United Front trip to Washington, D.C., with representatives from our partner jurisdictions at Lane County, the City of Springfield, Lane Transit District, Springfield Public Schools, and Willamette Lane Parks and Recreation District. This is an opportunity for our community to advocate with a strong, clear voice for our shared needs, and it was a very productive trip that we had. More than a dozen agency meetings that we had, and those agencies are entities like the U.S. Forest Service, the EPA, HUD, the Bureau of Land Management, USDA Food and Nutrition Services, the Department of Transportation, et cetera. All of those agency conversations were incredibly productive, and I think we came home with some helpful feedback. It was also excellent to meet with our congressional delegation, Senator Ron Wyden, Senator Jeff Merkley, and Representative Val Hoyle to understand their work in Washington and connect that work to our local community. Thank you to all of our partner jurisdictions and to staff for all of the work that went into preparing our small but mighty delegation for that trip. It was a pleasure to be there advocating for the City of Eugene and for our shared goals. And with that, thank you. That concludes our second agenda item. Oh, I'm so sorry. Councilor Ye.
I'm sorry. I did it late.
I'm looking at the wrong screen.
No, I did
Councilor
it
Ye.
late because I was trying to find that. I wanted to make sure people knew that the Police Commission is having their retreat on Thursday, May 8th, to set the FY 26-27 work plan. This is the retreat is open to the public. It is happening at the Eugene Municipal Court. It starts at 4, we'll probably go until 8, so it is a large commitment, but if anyone's interested, you can attend.
Thank you, Councilor. And Councilor Keating.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to staff for your patience with me participating remotely tonight. I just wanted to share a couple things. First of all, one of our partner organizations that I'm a liaison to reports that there's at least a $300,000 grant that's been paused, and their work and the work connected with this particular grant is critically important to air quality in our community. So I advise anyone within earshot to stay engaged, contact your members of Congress, contact our U.S. senators, contact the White House, and continue to apply appropriate pressure. To that end, not this last weekend, the weekend before, the space at City Hall was utilized peacefully and with great intention came great inspiration. And I was proud and honored to observe more than 5,000 Eugenians demonstrate against the radical efforts of extremism and the cuts, the unacceptable cuts that have largely affected our veteran community, cuts and pauses to contractually sound projects that are affecting clearly our community right here in Eugene. It's my understanding, Mayor and colleagues, that there is another protest planned on April 19th. I invite attendees, colleagues, friends, and family alike to come out to the streets peacefully and peaceably, expressing your rights to assemble and rights to protest. To all the organizers who put in the effort, and all the folks who came and spoke, and all the folks who stood in solidarity, I just want to offer my gratitude and say thank you.
Thank you, Council. This now concludes our second agenda item. Our third item on tonight's agenda, we do not need to cover. I watched you wrap up boards and commissions conversations. Well done, right on time. So moving on to our next item on tonight's agenda, we have our consent calendar. Approval of City Council minutes, approval of City Council tentative agenda, and approval of neighborhood association charters. I'll turn to the council president to put a motion forward, though we do have one discussion point.
Microphone, Counselor.
That'll help. I move to approve the items on consent calendar 1.
Second.
Pulling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't, yes.
Councilor Ye.
Go ahead.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
that's only voting in
Trying to be
process.
polite. I'd like to pull item C. I have a few questions.
Thank you, Councilor Ye. Note to pull item C. So I'll now take a vote for the motion to approve consent calendar 1 without item C, approval of neighborhood association charters. Councilors, please lock in your votes in the tablets in front of you.
Put them up first.
See Councilor Keating voting in the affirmative. And I can see behind me. And up there now. The motion passes with a vote of 8-0. Thank you. And now discussion from council regarding item C, neighborhood association charters. Councilor Ye.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Cindy. I just had a few questions. I noticed reading through them that there was a lot of similarity, but a little bit of variety, especially around membership issues. So I just wanted to ask, I mean, I saw anywhere from one went as low as 10 years to most of them are over 18. And then there were also some differences in whether employees of organizations or even businesses. I noticed my own neighborhood association has a new charter in businesses, and I'm not saying any of these are better or worse. I'm just wondering the thought behind not being more consistent in this. I mean, I assume it's because different neighborhoods are different, but I just wanted to let you make that statement.
Yeah, no.
What you think.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And I always welcome the opportunity to talk about the neighborhood associations. They're amazing. So the charters are designed by the previously approved charters were designed by the neighborhood associations and improved, some going back to the 70s. So membership is, our requirements are that all neighborhood associations at the minimum have residents, property owners, age of 18 or older are part of the membership. But the neighborhood associations can include other groups. So some include nonprofits, some include businesses, some include employees of the businesses, and that's really at their discretion. So. we've left that at their discretion.
Okay, so businesses are an optional add-on,
Right.
essentially.
Right.
Okay. My other question is, I know that some neighborhood associations are providing virtual access to their members. At least I know for the Northeast neighbors that I attend, frequently they have it's quite amazing, and everything is done, and members are even able to ask questions, and they take voting from both in-house and folks that are virtual. But I'm not sure if that's everyone, and I'm wondering if you allow virtual access to your meetings, do we require neighborhood associations to provide participation to those members?
Virtual access?
If they, because I know they're not required to have virtual, but if they provide it, are they required to then let those members participate in the meeting? Because I noticed one of the charters had a thing under membership that you are considered a member if you sign in to this thing. And so I don't, maybe they don't do virtual, but I thought that's kind of a barrier there, because that would mean all the people, if they were virtual, would not be able to participate.
They're very creative and they're very inclusive. I mean, they really are. So one of the neighborhood associations, they also require for voting, you have to attend a meeting in the last 12 months. So as people come into the meeting virtually, they do virtually sign in and they
That's
get added to
considered-
the list, and they use that list to check for voting.
Okay, so do we require neighborhoods to allow participation if they're providing a virtual component?
We haven't actually had that conversation because it hasn't come up as an issue from any of the
Okay.
neighborhood associations. Those that do have virtual options, and we provide all the tools, we provide the
Okay.
equipment and the training
That's good.
and the support for them to hold their virtual meetings. And those that do have virtual meetings, those that attend virtually do actively participate.
They're already taking care of it.
Yep,
Excellent. Thank you, Cindy. I really appreciate it.
you bet, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion from council? Thank you, staff. With that, make sure, Councilor Keating, sorry, that little tiny yellow hand, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Question about e-communication. Are there guidelines established by the city and or policies? And are there, is similar to Councilor Ye's line of questioning, are there similarities or stark differences in the neighborhood association's respective ability to communicate broadly with constituents via email? Are there some that are on the no-fly list? Is it kind of a free-for-all and allowing for neighborhood associations to use whatever platform, MailChimp, et cetera, that works for them? How secure? I'll leave it at that. I'm curious about the neighborhood association's ability to communicate broadly
Right.
with constituents.
We do encourage electronic newsletters. Those are a really great and relatively inexpensive way to communicate with the neighborhood associations. I can't think of a single neighborhood that does not have electronic communications. So we do support iContact, MailChimp. Some just send out an email to their communities, to their membership. So we encourage that. We encourage collecting email addresses at their meetings, through their printed publications, through their websites. We encourage the neighborhoods to communicate broadly using all sorts of forums, social media, electronic emails, printed publications, posters, flyers, conversations in the grocery store. And we do support and offer training for a lot of that work as well.
Great. And then follow up, Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please.
Considering the cost associated with some of these platforms, I trust that for parity purposes, we're distributing resources in a fashion that's equitable to support that outreach effort, A. And B, it's my understanding that neighborhood associations are a function of the municipality. Are those, and some operate a little more strictly to like Robert's Rules of Order, et cetera. Are those emails subject to public meetings laws?
Well, I would probably defer to legal for that question. Did you want to?
Yeah, I can jump
I-
in. It's okay.
Oh, thank you, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You're totally fine. You got both of us. You can
I
go look the other
do.
way.
I'm lucky.
No, the answer is no.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
Great.
yeah, we operate under the understanding that they, while there's an expectation that they operate in the interest of public meetings laws and all, all of the things that we operate under, but it's the spirit of the law, they're not actually required to follow the
Right.
meetings law.
Am I accurate in my assessment that they are a function of the municipality, though?
They are an integral part of our public engagement process. The neighborhood associations are a conduit of information, and they're also a way for us to collect information from the community. So they are an integral piece of our community, our community engagement process.
And the resources piece.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
We do provide resources. The neighborhood association submitted a work plan, and in their work plan, they included what they needed for their outreach, and that could be printed materials, that could be electronic newsletters, the websites, social media, their events. Any of the things that they needed were listed in their work plan, and we worked really hard and very creatively sometimes to help support that work. So yes, e-newsletters, if there is a cost with that, we do cover that as an eligible item for the program funds.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And can I just make a quick clarification as well? Counselor Keating, I want to just make sure that you have a clear answer to your question regarding whether the neighborhood associations are a functional component of the city. They are not. What Cindy was speaking of is that they help with the getting community engagement, but they are not an arm of the city. They are not part of the city. It's one of the key reasons why they have no public meetings, public records, law requirements, and all of that stuff.
Thank you.
Really appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions from council, we'll now take a vote for this separate item, C, approval of neighborhood association charters. Councilors, please lock in your votes in the tablets in front of you. And this item passes with a vote of 8-0. Thank you very much. This concludes this agenda item. The last item on tonight's agenda is the public comment period. Public comment period is an opportunity for individuals to speak to the City Council on any city-related issues except for those items which have already have been heard by a hearings official. Staff, can you please share the list and the number of speakers that have signed up to speak by 7:35? And then I will want to add a brief statement before we announce the first speaker.
Thank you, Mayor. We have over 80 speakers this evening who signed up.
Thank you very much, and thank you all also for signing up. I'm doing something a little bit unusual right now, which is a result of lots of community conversations, and I think some of the news just announced in this past week related to our city's mobile crisis services and the Cahoots organization and Whitebird. I want to say a couple of things. I was in Washington, D.C., and also meeting with Senator Wyden, who sponsored the Cahoots Act, which is part of how Cahoots is indeed a national model in emergency mobile crisis work. That response capacity exists in communities across Oregon, thanks to the work that has been catalyzed and the seed that was planted here with Cahoots and through the Whitebird organization, and that is true across the country. So the first question that I've seen asked many times in the past several days is, I thought this was a national model. I thought this was something that was truly being held up as an inspiration to others, and that is true and will always be true of what Cahoots and the Whitebird Clinic has offered to our community through decades of service. And so I wanted to offer that as a first clarifying comment because I've seen a lot of confusion just about that question. The other piece that I've seen a lot of confusion about is a misunderstanding about the initiation of events that have brought us to the point that we are at right now. And I just want to clarify that the City of Eugene did not initiate the discontinuation of Cahoots service within Eugene. I'm going to share with you just a couple of reference points of these past several days so that we're working from this shared piece of understanding and, of course, also we want to hear from you at public comment this evening and to understand your perspective and you understand the challenges of our community. But to offer a little bit of clarifying information, because in several community conversations recently, it's been made abundantly clear to me that this information is not accessible to everyone, or people have not heard this background, or it hasn't connected over time. So on March 25th, that was the date that the City of Eugene received notification from Whitebird Cahoots that they would be reducing services to the City of Eugene and laying off staff effective Monday, April 7th. As such, with that action and with the notification of that action, Whitebird Cahoots was unable to continue to fulfill a contractual obligation that provided 24/7 mobile crisis service within the City of Eugene. This is an important distinction to understand, that there has been a contract in place to provide the service to our community between the City of Eugene and Whitebird Cahoots. Following that notification on March 25th, and in collaboration with Whitebird, the City of Eugene agreed to a mutual contract termination date effective April 7th, 2025, the same date that the staff layoffs would go into effect. So working to align a contractual agreement with the notification from our partner. The city is actively working to ensure the community and service partners are aware of how to access mobile crisis services through Mobile Crisis Services, MCS of Lane County. This is another piece of information that is not getting out or well understood within community, that mobile crisis response, mobile crisis services do still exist within the City of Eugene, and through the provision of Lane County's mobile crisis services, which were stood up with the inspiration of the Cahoots organization and through the Cahoots Act work and years of partnership also with Cahoots and Whitebird. Eugene Springfield Fire will also be coordinating closely with Lane County and monitoring our service needs through this transition. There is much more information that I could share, but those were sort of 5 or so main points that feel especially important to our shared understanding of this challenge. It is certainly a challenging situation. It is not one that we had hoped to find ourselves in. And I know that the Whitebird organization and Cahoots organization have also been working very hard and are also challenged by these particular circumstances. So I just wanted to offer that to you all before we begin our public comment period. And with that, Cherish, would you please notify our first speaker?
Thank you, Mayor. I will announce 2 speakers' names at a time. When you are called to speak, please state your name and your ward or neighborhood, if known, before beginning your comments. When you are announced as the next speaker, please move to the seat in the front row designated for the next speaker. When it is your turn, you may come to the podium. Please leave any bags you may have with you at your seat. If you have documents to give council, please place them in the basket near the podium. You will have 2.5 minutes to speak. The timer will flash red when you have 15 seconds remaining to speak. Your microphone will be muted at the 2.5-minute mark. Please note that the use of profanity is prohibited, and any instances of profanity will result in immediate termination of speaking privileges. Our first speakers tonight are Lynn Woodrich, followed by Josh Easterland.
My name's Lynn Woodrich. I'm the Active Bethel Community Co-Chair. I've lived in the Bethel area over 30 years. I live in Ward 8. I'm speaking for the Active Bethel Community Board. I'm quoting from an email you received from a lifelong Bethel community member. He expressed concern about Eugene's homelessness crisis and its disproportionate impact on our neighborhood, particularly around the Lindholm Service Center. Recent data reveals alarming trends that demand immediate intervention. 3,085 individuals are currently experiencing homelessness in Eugene. 1,143 are sheltered, including alternative shelters, with 223 of this group originating from out of state. 1,942 are chronically homeless. 1,359, 70% of this group, are from out of state. 1,582 total unhoused individuals in Eugene are from out of state. 50% of those contacted have declined local housing offers, signaling systemic barriers or mismatched solutions. The city located the Lindholm Center in the Active Bethel community. You need to either move it or take care of the businesses and residents that are being impacted by the situation it's causing. The strain on Bethel has become intolerable. Overcrowding at the Lindholm Service Center has led to severe sanitation hazards, escalating public safety risks, including a recent fatality, and unsustainable financial burdens on local businesses and residents who are forced to address crises they did not create. This situation is neither sustainable for our neighborhoods nor compassionate toward those in need. We urge the city to act swiftly on the following: address the influx of out-of-state individuals contributing to chronic homelessness through targeted policy changes, example, residency-based eligibility for services. 2, allocate immediate resources to mitigate sanitation and safety issues near Lindholm, including dedicated cleanup crews, 24/7 enforcement, and trauma-informed outreach teams. And 3, collaborate with Bethel stakeholders to design a sustainable, equitable plan that balances community well-being with humane support for unhoused individuals. Our community deserves solutions that uphold both the dignity of those experiencing homelessness and the rights of residents and businesses bearing the brunt of this crisis. We request a detailed response outlining the city's action plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Our next speaker is Josh Easterland, followed by Sarah Boom.
Hello again, City Councilors. Nice to see you all again. I'm Josh Easterland with Equitable Access Eugene, here to request again that you consider decriminalizing the ability to grow, gather, and gift psychedelic plants and fungi here in Eugene. Just as a reminder, back in 2020, Oregonians voted to legalize psilocybin services and also to decriminalize personal possession of most drugs, which did include psychedelics. Again, about 60% of Lane County voters voted in favor of both Measure 109 and 110 that did these things. And I talk with people regularly about this, and many people don't really know why I'm doing it. They say, aren't these things already decriminalized? They don't realize that House Bill 4002, which took effect last September, recriminalized personal possession of all drugs, including psychedelics. Took it from a Class E violation back to a misdemeanor. Also, if you were to try to grow your own mushrooms and you have these wet fungi, you're very likely to fall over that 15-gram limit and be committing a felony offense. So in general, people are confused, they're ignorant, and this puts them at legal risk. So our current situation is that in order to access psychedelic healing, our community either has to pay thousands of dollars to access the legal psilocybin services, or they have to break the law, or we have to decriminalize. Oakland was the first city to decriminalize back in June of 2019. Most recently, we had Tacoma at the beginning of this year, and I think about 26 now have joined this growing list. And what they've done is they passed a resolution to make possessing, growing, and non-commercial sharing the lowest priority of law enforcement. And we can do that here too, and I look forward to talking to you more about it. If anybody has any questions or wants to learn more, please check out equitableaccesseugene.org, where you can get in touch with me or my team, and I'll talk to you then. So take care. Bye.
Thank you, Josh. Our next speakers are Sarah Boom, followed by Ariel Myler. You're Sarah Bame, is that correct? We have a Sarah Boom and a Sarah Bame this evening.
I apologize.
Yeah, twinning. Hello, City Council. My name is Sarah Boom, and I am a resident of Ward 7. My grandfather often told me, if your only tool is a hammer, you'll see every problem as a nail. I thought of that when I heard Cahoots is leaving Eugene. In most cities in the U.S., their only tool is the hammer of policing. The thing is, people in mental health crises are more like screws than nails. If you hammer a screw into the wall, you'll damage both the wall and the screw. Eugene is one of few cities that has a screwdriver in the form of Cahoots. The careful application of the right tool can prevent damage and build support. Right now the right tool is gone, and the only one left is the violent, ineffective one. Fund Cahoots, which is the right tool to help people in crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Our next speakers are Ariel Myler, followed by Sarah Bame. Is there an Ariel Myler in the room? All right, I'm going to go ahead and call our next speaker, and then one more call for Ariel. Sarah. Hi, are you Ariel? Perfect. So go on up to the podium.
Hi, my name is Ariel Myler, and I am sitting in as a community member, but I also work in a residential treatment program managing a facility for individuals with mental illness. We use Cahoots every single day with our clients because our clients require services that Cahoots provides that the Eugene police enforcement cannot. Our clients do not need arms and people who cannot speak to them when they are experiencing a crisis, and we need the support from Cahoots. They have gained rapport with most of our clients, and we rely on their services to keep our community going and to help clients that are experiencing a mental health crisis. Abolishing this service, or at least extinguishing it to 1 day a week, is asking clients to only experience a mental health crisis 1 day a week, which is just not realistic. I urge you to continue to find resources necessary to keep Cahoots running for more than 1 day a week for the community and people experiencing mental health crises. Thank you.
Thank you, Ariel. Our next speakers are Sarah Boehm, followed by Lydia Scott.
It's really me this time. Okay, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I found out about this meeting at 7 p.m. I've lived here for 10 years. I've called Cahoots several times to help friends and myself. I just really want to see you guys do everything you can to keep them running 7 days a week. We are leading the country in like a revolutionary thing with Cahoots. Not a lot of cities have something like Cahoots, and we're setting an example for the rest of the country. And in this insane time where we're losing all of our federal funding, we need to keep setting an example as a very progressive city, and we need to just take care of our own here within the state because the federal government is not going to take care of us. So we have to find the money, and we have to do what we have to do to keep our society functioning. If the federal government's not going to help us, we have to help ourselves, and we have to take care of each other. So I'll leave it at that. Please save Cahoots.
Thank you, Sarah. Our next speakers are Lydia Scott, followed by Rebecca Hill.
Hello, my name is Lydia Scott. I'm here this evening as a community member, speaking on behalf of support for Cahoots. In 2020, they were recognized nationally, and the city was very proud to accept acknowledgement for that and have that model used across the nation. Cahoots came to the city and asked for $2.2 million of a brand new tax that had been created, the CSI tax, and they were denied, and they were given $200,000. I wonder if you can imagine how that would feel to have that kind of national recognition and then to be treated like that. And here we are now in 2025, and they literally cannot operate anymore. And this is an issue. It's not only for our houseless community and our mental health crisis. This is a safety issue for our entire community. I worked for the Eugene Fire Department for a short time as an EMT, and in that brief moment that I worked there, it was glaringly obvious the services that Cahoots provides, not only for our mental health crisis in this community, but as a resource for EMS, as a resource for the police. I was there for a very short time, and I'll tell you what, the amount of times we were at capacity, which means there is nobody to go out on a call, no matter how severe it is, was alarming. And that was with Cahoots. That was with Cahoots diverting calls. They were taking calls that they are extremely more qualified to handle. I remember sitting in the street with a mental health crisis with somebody who felt like they had glass all over their body, and we sat in the street for a half an hour trying to help this person. Those are emergency calls that can't be answered when that happens. Somebody's bleeding out, and there is nobody to go help a completely preventable death because we're at capacity. That's what Cahoots does for the community, not just mental health, not just helping houseless people.
Thank you, Lydia. Your time is concluded. Our next speakers are Rebecca Hill, followed by Dustin.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Hill. I'm an adult mental health peer support specialist. I work in a permanent supported housing program here in Lane County. I'm also a member of LEAGUE, which is a committee under the PHB. I'm the co-chair. I'm here to speak on my behalf and behalf of the community in favor of Cahoots. They're a vital resource for everyone in our community. People from all walks of life have utilized their services, myself included. Cahoots saved my life in 2003 by providing safe, trauma-informed, compassionate care after I was the victim of a violent assault. They also provided me transportation to the hospital where I received the psychiatric care that I desperately needed. Again, in 2006, they talked me off of a literal ledge, saving my life again. My adult child has been on the streets now for 15 years. She just turned 30 years old this week. She has been saved by Cahoots multiple times. As well as 3 weeks ago, my stepmother was saved by Cahoots and taken to the hospital to a psychiatric bed when they were told that there were none. Cahoots helped me advocate for her, and she is now alive and safe in a protected care facility. As hard as it is, I'm speaking out today, not only for my family, but for every family in this community, for everyone who doesn't have the strength or the voice to come and speak tonight. Thousands of lives have been saved in this community by Cahoots. Their dedication, compassion, and person-centered care is uncomparable. They're a national model for a reason. It works. We should be honored and proud as a city to have Cahoots, and it is a disgrace. It is a disgrace to this city and to the community members that they are not here. We didn't ask for Lane County Mobile Crisis Center, or services, the units. We didn't ask for them. The community did not ask for them. We asked for Cahoots.
Thank you, Rebecca. Your time is concluded. Our next speakers are Dustin, followed by Jacob True.
My name's Dustin Stouth. I was too rushed to put in my last name, but I'm speaking on behalf of myself, but I have worked with homeless organizations in town for about 5 years and use Cahoots, continue to use Cahoots on a regular basis for suicide risk assessments, as well as check-ins for people who are found on the street and no one's around to help them. They're essential. Their level of skill and sensitivity in their communication, their crisis counseling is unmatched, potentially in the country. Whitebird has been developing crisis counseling that is responsive to human beings and meeting them where they're at for decades, and that institutional knowledge is being lost. You can't replace it. It's tragic that people who have been passing down this knowledge and these skills for decades are now being cut off. And I can only hope that whatever service replaces Cahoots, if that is what is happening, will look to these people for the wisdom that they have been carrying for decades in this community. And it's very upsetting that it appears that these this path of events that the mayor described appears like Whitebird just broke their contract knowing that everything might fall apart for Cahoots as a result of that, when they knew that the Lane County Service was here to pick up the pieces. And that is disturbing. It appears to me that, this Lane County Crisis Service has been developing and expanding right as Cahoots is crumbling, and that is disturbing. The level of funding that is going to a Lane County service could have and should have been going to Cahoots. I don't know the intricacies of Whitebird's funding problems, but I know that the CEO has resigned recently, and I don't know why he resigned, but clearly the board did not have faith in him, and the council should not have faith in the level of funding.
Thank you, Dustin. Your time is concluded. Our next speakers this evening are Jacob True, followed by Kevin Kopsko.
Hi there, Jacob True speaking. I live in Ward 1. I'm an accountant, and this is basically the busiest night of the year, but I could not sit idly by at the reckless decision to eliminate Cahoots in Eugene. You may remember me from around 2021 when I spoke before the Budget Committee, City Council several times regarding the community safety payroll tax. I highlighted how this was a wasteful and inappropriate use of funds on several levels, but I'll condense this a little bit. Part of how this payroll tax was sold was as a way to support Cahoots. Less than 10% of the funds from this tax went to support Cahoots, and I was looking at the last report, which was in 2023. Looks like the 24 report is delayed, and I did not see any direct support for Cahoots in there at all. I'd love to be corrected if I'm wrong. You've done community surveys around this tax. In this survey, folks overwhelmingly supported more funding for Cahoots and alternatives to police and carceral response. Eugenians love Cahoots. We have an entire room filled out there with people who are here talking about Cahoots. Here we are, 5 years out from enacting a tax to support community safety, and what's happening? We're cutting Cahoots, the most efficacious pillar of public safety in our community. I was going to go on about how Cahoots is wonderful, but you're going to have a lot of people talking about that soon. So I was at the town hall meeting put on by Cahoots, and I was distressed to see that not a single member of City Council was at that town hall meeting. That town hall presented how effective and efficiently Cahoots supports our community, and it was heartbreaking to see how all that research from PSU and U of O was turned into past tense. Cahoots were the most trusted part of community response. Cahoots was providing compassionate and effective preventative care to our community. And you know what? They still are. In Springfield, not in Eugene, Hoots in the 4J schools, they're still providing care there too. But anyway, I was talking with some Cahoots workers, and I wanted to respond directly to some of the mayor's comments. Eugene City Council has full power to fund and bring back Cahoots. Last year, in contract negotiations, Eugene offered 40% of the operational cost of running Cahoots. This is why Whitebirds couldn't fund Cahoots in Eugene. Springfield covers 100% of the operational cost of Cahoots in Springfield. That's why Springfield still has Cahoots, and we do not. Also, the National Cahoots Act referenced by the mayor is part of what led to the local MCS service, community service out in the county, that is not the same and not a replacement.
Thank you, Jacob. Your time is concluded. Our next speakers are Kevin Kopsko, followed by Alexander Chamberlain.
There's articles about the drones, too.
Hi there. My name is Kevin Kopsko. I'm the founder of Eugene Neurodivergent Support. I'm here to speak for supporting the funding or finding the funding or any kind of finding the funding for Cahoots, the program. This is kind of a situation where when you don't have the money to pay for anything, you don't go out and buy a new car or buy any kind of luxury things, you pay for food. You buy food, what you need. Victor Perez was the most recent one of my many victims to police violence due to incredible lack of training and lack of humanity. The police are not equipped to handle the large amount of diversity surrounding the autistic experience. One common theme in police shootings of autistics is that they were nonverbal and could not communicate to protect their lives. I'm here to express that every autistic person is nonverbal given the proper amount of stimulus. We intake 42% more information than the normal brain, which requires heavier processing power, much like a high-spec computer. The likelihood of overload is far higher. It takes 8 seconds for a neurotypical person, on average, to understand that there's a difference between us and normal people. This difference once labeled us crazy. This difference once labeled us deserving to be electroshocked. You don't think the police are any different? They notice the difference, but oftentimes we have evidence that they see crazy. It shouldn't be the job of police to handle such complex situations like this. Their time is far better handled elsewhere. Autistics and neurodivergents needs a crisis intervention program that will not kill them if they're not acting neurotypical enough. Please act in a way to allow the important crisis service not to disappear. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Our next speakers are Alexander Chamberlain, followed by Greg Fitzgerald.
Hello, my name is Alex. I look at numbers all day, so I'm going to be talking about numbers. between fire and police patrol, we have about 100 million to spend on emergency response. These are operational costs, not including capital costs like cars and stuff that lasts. From the data that was presented at the town hall, we know that Cahoots responds to about 17% of all calls. So in my opinion, if it took 8 million to fund Cahoots, which is, I believe, the right amount, it would be an amazing deal. And so this is just fiscally responsible. I'm not even going to the humanitarian element of this. Fiscally responsible, this is what we should be doing. So the obvious question is, where do we get the money? And that's the right question phrased wrong. The right question is, we have 100 million, how best to spend it? And how best to spend it includes Cahoots. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Our next speakers are Greg Fitzgerald, followed by Melinda Poor.
Madam Mayor, Honorable Council, thank you for this opportunity to be heard tonight. I'm Greg Fitzgerald, Ward 2. I hope I'm speaking for many in our city. I wish we had had a chance before tonight to talk about the subject of the fire service tax before you disguised a fee and called it done. It dodges a public vote. The so-called fire service fee is deeply flawed. I'll focus but on just two of the many problems. First, my career in financial services in New York, we all knew it's illegal to make false and misleading claims to close the deal. That's exactly what's been done here. You say this 10 million fee goes for fire services. Technically, that's true, but it's highly misleading because here is the trick. You add 10 million to the fire budget and quietly pull 10 million out the back door. So fire gets nothing new. You get more cash to spend elsewhere. That's a misleading deception. Second, you tell us that if we don't give you this new money, you'll cut the library, the pool, the police. That's one of the oldest bargaining tricks in budget negotiations there is. There's even a legal word for it. Threatening harm to get what you want is extortion. To find cuts, you ignored most of the $750 million budget and went straight to the programs people care about most, just to scare us. It didn't have to be this way. Budgeting takes courage and experience. My career as treasurer of American Express and chief financial officer of Merrill Lynch, I've had to cut budgets. I've dealt in these things, big ones. I know how to do it without gutting public service or our community's assets. It can be done. And I would say there are many talented people here in Eugene, many business people, many nonprofit leaders, all of whom want to help, all of whom understand budgeting, and I believe will help us do the right way to budget. So do it right, be honest, drop the threats, and please let's get a proper budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Our next speakers are Melinda Poor, followed by Eli Simon.
Hi, my name is Melinda Poor. I work at Community Supported Shelters as the Service Navigation Manager, and I am here tonight to express my concern for the safety of my community members in the abrupt and unexpected decision to discontinue services for Cahoots. In this line of work of working with the most marginalized and traumatized people in our community, trust is an essential part of being able to deliver services. My coworkers and I, we respond to crisis situations very frequently. And in those situations, we are often met with folks who are in crisis but are unwilling to accept services outside of Cahoots because they are a trusted resource in our community. And I think that that is extremely important to consider. I understand that the mobile crisis services are there, but they do not replace the rapport that has been established with this community. And I think that by discontinuing those services, people are very much put at risk. So,
Thank you, Melinda. Our next speakers are Eli Simon, followed by Catherine Hunt. All right. Hello, Eli. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Eli, and I work for a nonprofit organization with some programs specializing in housing for people who have nowhere else to go. One of these programs that I work for is a crisis youth shelter, and while I'm not speaking on the group's behalf, I would like to say that the community, I've worked for them for a couple of years, and one of the things that we have guests fill out when they come there is something called a Columbia Suicide Severity Rating Scale. And when guests score highly enough on that we cannot ensure their safety, we call cahoots. When our guests need some way to keep themselves safe and need someone to talk to, speaking to cahoots is often a way that they say that would help them. When people come to the door and ask for assistance and we can't provide that, cahoots is who we call to help. When worrisome situations occur and that don't require immediate EMS attention but can't go unaddressed, we call cahoots. Our staff has learned a lot from cahoots, and our guests have developed a good rapport with them over this time. MCSLC, one of the organizations that will supposed to take their place, does not serve people under the age of 18. They don't serve people who are intoxicated. Cahoots is an invaluable part of this community, and the wherewithal of their workers cannot be overstated, and the people need to know how much they mean for the community. There are so many people who want to be here today that there aren't even enough chairs, not only in this room, there aren't enough chairs outside of this room to have everyone be seated. On a more personal note, I've never been to a city council meeting before. I haven't attended that many protests before in my life. This is a cause that I really feel strongly about and want to have my voice heard about. And I stand with Cahoots and the work they do. Thank you.
Thank you, Eli. Our next speakers are Catherine Hunt, followed by Ralph Partial.
My name is Catherine Hunt, and I live in Ward 7. And first of all, I wanted to thank you all for giving the public time to speak with you this evening. I think it's a really important part of our community. So I'm speaking about the library. It's a very important part of my life, as I have grandchildren that have been in the tweens and now are in the teens. So that is a weekly program that is offered at the library. Yes, this past weekend, it was heartening when I went to volunteer at the library book sale. I hope that some of you were able to attend. It was amazing. It was an amazing sight to see so many volunteers, including a lot of youth. There were a lot of youth this year helping. And then to see the crowds that patiently waited their turn to help raise funds for the library. The lines were very long, but everybody was very congenial and asked questions, and I tried to answer them. I wasn't always able to do that. But it was one way to raise funds for the library through selling secondhand books. And this isn't just this one weekend. Think of all the year, the rest of the year, there are volunteers who go to a warehouse to sort the books so that they're all in the correct categories. Anyways, I wanted to share that with you, and I hope that you will keep funding the library, also Cahoots, and the firefighters. Those are the three that are in my mind right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Our next speakers are Ralph Partial, followed by Victoria Acosta.
Ralph Partial of Ward 5. Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council members, city staff, and my fellow residents. First and foremost, I want to take a moment to sincerely thank the members of the Eugene City Council for your dedication and service to our community. The work you do, balancing priorities, responding to the needs of residents, and making decisions that shape our city's future. It is no easy task. Your commitment does not go unnoticed, and I deeply appreciate the time and effort you put into making Eugene a better place for all of us to live. I moved to Eugene in 1970, met my wife, raised our 3 children, and was a member of many organizations and boards that have helped shape our community. I also want to express my gratitude to everyone in this room today, residents who have taken the time to participate in these discussions. Democracy thrives when voices are heard, and your engagement shows the strength of our community and our shared commitment to shaping a better future. Today, I want to highlight an issue that affects every one of us, the city budget. We understand that resources are limited and difficult decisions must be made to ensure that essential services remain strong while addressing new and evolving needs. But as expenses continue to rise, adjustments are necessary. We must look carefully at our spending, identify the areas where we can be most efficient, and ensure that taxpayer dollars are being used wisely to serve our community. This means rethinking our priorities, exploring innovative solutions, and finding ways to make our budget work better for the people of Eugene. I urge the City Council to take a proactive approach, engaging with residents, listening to our concerns, and crafting a budget that reflects both fiscal responsibility and the values of our community. We have an opportunity to strengthen Eugene, to address financial challenges with transparency and forward-thinking strategy. Together with thoughtful planning and collaboration, we can ensure that our city remains vibrant, sustainable, and financially secure. Thank you again for your service, your participation, and your commitment to making Eugene a city that works for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph. Our next speakers are Victoria Acosta, followed by Tracy Tesler.
I want to start off by saying I'm 18 years old. I'm not mad, but instead mourning the hundreds of kids who are similar to me who will no longer be able to access the same love, dedication, and care I received while fleeing an abusive house situation. Cahoots was more than just a crisis response. Cahoots for me was a family. In December of my sophomore year, I fled my house in the middle of the night after a physical altercation with my father. While sitting on a neighbor's couch with no shoes on my feet, visibly distraught, I had a police officer tell me I should go to church more and proceed to leave without offering any crisis assistance or information. It was only while at school I heard and received proper crisis assistance from Cahoots and accurate emergency housing and helped to deal with the trauma I had just gone through. I was a scared, beat down 15-year-old girl. I didn't need a police officer, I needed a hug. I'm truly disappointed in the city for not advocating and fighting more, and even more heartbroken for future little girls like me who will not have access to the help they so rightly deserve. I also want to take this time to thank every single one of the Cahoots members who, despite everything that they have gone through, continued to help me and continued to support me even when I did not need their services anymore. I'm 18 years old. I'm a full-time recipient of multiple different grants and scholarships. I was Miss Teen Springfield volunteer, and this success was only possible because of the love and dedication and hours and time that Cahoots put into me, and I want to really thank them for that and really truly plead with you guys to reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. Our next speakers are Tracy Tesler, followed by Mike McFarland.
Hello, I'm Tracy Tesler. I'm here as a community member. I'm also here as a member of TIP Trauma Intervention Program of Lane County, a volunteer-run organization. We often respond with Cahoots. We have made it a great effort to be in communication with Cahoots and have a really respectful relationship with them, and I think that we've been really successful with that. I've been on calls with Cahoots present, and I have no delusion that we are replacing Cahoots, not even a bit. We have our role. We're there to support people in a traumatic event for a short period of time. Cahoots is full on throwing themselves into the situation and They are not in a hurry to run off and get onto their next gig or check it off the list. They are there with that person and they are committed to them in that moment, and they make a difference. And I feel safe on calls with them as a team lead for my organization, and I have my responders out there. When they're with Cahoots, I know that they have each other's backs. Cahoots has a unique skill set. They have both the EMS and incredible amount of mental health training. They are experts at what they do. And it makes no sense that we are losing this program. It's a priority in this. I've seen it in action. I'd also like to speak to my experience with Egan Warming Centers. So I volunteer usually at the youth site, sometimes at other ones. I've seen Cahoots in action there. They save lives. People are at risk without Cahoots to transport them in, to talk them down, to deal with these crises. We have in Egan, we have people who are mental health. The lead for mental health lead for the night. They're not Cahoots. Cahoots is a very unique program that has taken decades to develop and train these people. So I just really want to implore you to find funding for them. It's a unique program with incredible individuals who care and are dedicated.
Thank you, Tracy. Our next speakers are Mike McFarland, followed by Angela Dunha.
Good evening, Council. My name is Mike McFarland. I'm representing Ward 4. I took my whole speech and threw it in the trash can as I went into this room just because it's a different room than I thought I'd be addressing. So I'm just going to do a quick recap of your last work session and send a few thanks. Karn, you're sounding like a mayor. It's so wonderful to see you up there talking about how we have to work together. We literally have got to stop fighting in the streets. And to hear the mayor say that, and I believe it, is great to hear. Randy and Eliza, thank you for bringing up the process of the fire fee and the referendum that got brought through. It is now 8,400 people have spoken, and we need to honor that. So thank you both. Because I feel really strongly about this process, I actually did participate in both referendums that was brought when the council said we don't really want people to vote. And I really wish I could have brought the faces of all the people that I talked to when I tried to explain the fire fee. It is one of the hardest things for people to understand, and you need to realize that is difficult. So I wish I could bring you and show you the confusion out there behind that, but it's not good process, and we really need to rethink it. So that's the rest of my speech. I'm gonna just do away with. I realize a lot of people are here and a very, very important issue about Cahoots, and I support all of that, but I fear that a lot of people aren't going to be able to be heard on the fire fee. And I wondered if we could just get a little hands up for the people that feel like the voters should have a say in this. If you could just do that, I thank you, and good night.
Thank you, Mike. Our next speakers are Angela Dunha, followed by Misty Bowman.
My name is Angela Dunham. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and the invitation from my best friend tonight. Tonight, I share an advocacy of a 14-year small business owner and an advocacy of basic humanity. We operate in the heart of downtown, and we love being downtown business owners, but also know our efforts are not sustainable if resources continue to be stripped. Our city contract with DPI Security was terminated in January, and we now lose the support of Cahoots. We operate under one of the primary parking structures that people use to end their lives. I share this story on a Friday afternoon, a human jumped from the parking structure and landed in front of our windows while we were actively leading a class with small children. Cahoots came to engage our youth with trauma-informed care. They stayed for hours and answered questions, practiced breathing, and offered continued resources for an experience that's hard to articulate. Cahoots is a huge loss for us as business owners and also an underserved population of humans being discarded and lost in bureaucracy. We interact with the police weekly and appreciate all they do, and they also do not deserve to have more added to their plate. Having said that, losing this resource will continue to overwhelm the police and pull them from situations where they're desperately needed. In our experience, police do not respond with the same trauma-informed practices, creating escalation for them and the party involved. We've had to explain away dead bodies, overdoses, sexual vulgarity, and bodily fluids. We experience public masturbation daily as our dancers dance in the windows, drug addictions, needles, garbage, etc. I share this not to be vulgar, but when we call the police, as it's not an emergency, we often have no support, which is left to ourselves or underqualified faculty. To denote this as a challenging situation created by contractual termination minimizes the reality that our families and clients feel vulnerable, our staff is overwhelmed and fearful, and as business owners, we're left picking up the pieces constantly. This meeting feels like you're listening to placate and not problem solve. There's no money to help downtown business, and people are dying on our doorstep, but we have expensive electric bike bays and an expensive pavilion that's constantly empty and closed in incentive to better downtown. We ask for funding and care of people and community. Cahoots is a vital downtown resource, and the loss.
Thank you, Angela. Your time is concluded. Our next speakers are Misty Bowman, followed by Jack Bear.
Good evening. My name is Misty Bowman. I live in Ward 7. I'm a Dark Sky Oregon advocate, and I'm here to discuss safety and security in Eugene. Firstly, I'd like to share how concerned I am with the closing of Cahoots, an agency that was vital to the well-being of Eugene and helped ease the burdens of an overstressed and overworked police force. We need to find creative solutions to security and safety needs in Eugene, and Cahoots should continue to be one of them. Naturally, me being who I am, I believe dark sky lighting to be part of this as well. Which brings me to my second comment. I would like to persuade the city that dark sky lighting is in no way a hindrance to safety and security. I understand you may not want to take my word for it, so what about Eugene's own police department? I am quoting from the Register Guard, December 7th, 1997, an article titled, "Local Group Wants Eugene to Dim the Lights." Todd Schneider, who was at the time the crime prevention coordinator of the Eugene Police Department, said, quote, "It doesn't serve any public safety need to light the tops of trees or the skies above. We're not expecting an alien invasion anytime soon." Indeed, there are police departments in dark sky towns and cities all over the world that can confirm dark sky lighting does not inhibit public safety. In fact, some police departments have found dark sky lighting to aid security needs. I'm quoting now from Paul Bogard's End of Night, available at the Eugene Public Library. In Loveland, Wisconsin, in the appropriate areas, they switched to motion sensor lights, and the police loved it because if they saw the property with no lights on, they knew no one was there. The police are overworked as is, and no group could possibly perform all the functions we expect the police to in our society. And the solution is not overfunding them, but funding social programs that support the community and its health. Support Cahoots, support the library, support dark sky lighting, beat our swords into plowshares, turn our knives into pruning hooks. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Misty. Our next speakers are Jack Bear, followed by Ethan Clevenger.
Hi, all. I also had a speech that I tossed out as soon as I heard that there were going to be 84 speakers, because really there's nothing that I can say that you're not going to hear from other people. I'm also speaking on behalf of Cahoots and funding Cahoots in the next city budget. I know that there was like a break in services and a break in communication that led to the situation that we're in today, and I also want to advocate for funding Cahoots in the next city budget specifically. There are no replacement services that can do what Cahoots is doing in Springfield. And if you're someone here who's listening to this and you love Cahoots, Please keep showing up to these city council meetings. Please keep advocating for city funding to go to Cahoots. There are 5 more city council meetings before July, which is when the city budget goes through. Honestly, I'm not super familiar with the process because it's my first city council meeting. I'm not the kind of person that does this, but please keep showing up for Cahoots. Show up to these meetings, be vocal, be loud, and for you who have the power in your hands to make this decision, for myself and for everybody else who has spoken today, please fund Cahoots.
Thank you, Jack. Our next speakers are Ethan Clevenger, followed by Allison Knight.
I'm Ethan Clevenger, Ward 1. The crux of the conversation happening in our community about the pending fire fee ordinance is not about whether or not you like public pools or libraries or, as it turns out, Cahoots, or how important that you think those things are. Most folks in this room would prioritize those things in a bucket of basic community services that we should be providing. The crux of this conversation, rather, has for months been, and still is, about who's responsible for establishing budget priorities for our community, when do they do it, and how do they do it. But with a lack of leadership from council, it feels we are mired in a conversation about basic services instead. The community has in fact spent $90,000 so far on a vote that nobody wants to have. City budgeting is hard, and I will be the first to defend that our city is the victim of upstream revenue limitations. I'll be the first in line to ask for structural fixes at the state level. But I've also heard the speaker clearly say that fixing our property tax system is not a priority for this year's session, and so this is the landscape we must adapt to. Despite that reality, no one insisted on a balanced budget from the Budget Committee in the first place. We've not established and implemented priorities for our budget to try and match revenue. As a governing body, you could have saved our services a couple of months ago by brokering a limited version of the fire fee that was lobbied for during that time. And now we're here tonight commenting without an actual budget proposal in front of us. That's not due until the 30th. So in November, I get to decide, do I vote yes and in a way sign off on the process that got us here for this new revenue stream, or do I vote no to ensure my frustration is heard and hope that a better process emerges to ensure we only briefly have to weather unconscionable cuts to the services that have been floated? Because I don't get to give direction to city staff and committees and shape this process. All I get is what will turn out to be a very expensive yay or nay vote that no one wants. I don't think that's a position we deserve to be put in, and I don't feel that you've led the city through this process. Negotiating with organized constituencies is part of the job, and it feels that we've decided to roll the dice on a petition and a subsequent vote, potentially with basic community services instead. I would ask that you repeal this ordinance, quickly put something forward with guardrails on it to mitigate the damage, and immediately begin work on a thorough and transparent process that prioritizes our spending before asking this community for additional revenue on all of the basic services that we are working to protect. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethan. Our next speakers are Allison Knight, followed by Vanessa Lepe and May Sowards.
My name is Allison Knight. I'm a resident of Ward 1. I'm the lead mental health attorney at the Public Defender Services of Lane County. I'm speaking to you today gravely concerned about the loss of Cahoots and the impact it will have on my clients and our community. I'm sure you are all aware about the increase in mental health needs following the pandemic. In our community, that increase was happening long before COVID and has been made dramatically worse over the last few years. This crisis came about because of decades of underinvestment in community mental health resources. The criminal justice system is now the de facto mental health treatment provider for many people with serious mental illness. Our state hospital is now primarily used to restore people to competency for criminal cases. And for years, the most reliable way to access the highest level of psychiatric care was to be charged with a crime. The surge in patients for competency restoration over the last few years has led to federal litigation and a court order meant to reduce the number of patients who qualify for admission. This means that there are very seriously mentally ill people, even those who have been charged with a crime, who normally, or who for the last few years have been able to access the state hospital through the jails, are no longer able to do that. Even despite that, Lane County sends more people to the state hospital every month than any other county in Oregon besides Multnomah. This is not surprising given our community treatment resources have been dwindling. Since December of 2023, Eugene lost the University District Hospital and the Hourglass Crisis Center, and as of last week, Cahoots. These were no-barrier treatment access points for our most vulnerable neighbors to receive care when experiencing a mental health crisis. Each of these losses increases the likelihood that a person with serious mental illness will have a law enforcement response resulting in use of force or incarceration. You might be thinking that that has nothing to do with you because that's a county problem or a state issue. But it's clear that eroding the community treatment infrastructure simply leads to downstream consequences, with our most vulnerable neighbors bearing the brunt. We are not in a place with this crisis where we can say one service can be absorbed by another. Mobile crisis is not a one-to-one substitute for Cahoots. And even if it were, the scale of this problem is not such that we can be downsizing resources. We need more of every kind of community treatment resource. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Our next speaker is Vanessa Lepe and May Sowards, followed by Stacy Bierma Welch.
Good evening, City Council members and Mayor of the City of Eugene. My name is Vanessa Lepe, and to my right is May Soward, my colleague. May and I are sociology PhD students at the University of Oregon, and in collaboration with Associate Professor of Sociology, Dr. Claire Herbert at UO, as well as the National Alliance to End Homelessness, we have brought before you a summary of social scientific research on alternative mobile crisis response programs across the U.S., many of which are modeled after Cahoots. Our city struggles with some of the highest rates of homelessness in this country, and research shows that programs like Cahoots play an important role in resolving this social problem, as well as promoting public safety. Before you, we are presenting literature and research based on the mobile crisis response, such as Cahoots.
Mobile Crisis Response Programs, or MCRs, have been expanding across the U.S. since 2020. MCRs are commonly pair a behavioral health specialist and EMT to respond to nonviolent concerns typically routed to police, such as calls about disorderly subjects, welfare checks, loitering, trespassing, or vandalism. Program evaluations and social science research has begun to identify the impacts of MCR programs. This research shows that MCRs are highly successful at serving people experiencing mental health distress, substance use disorders, and homelessness and connecting them with services. MCRs promote public safety and decrease burdens on other high-cost institutions like police, EMS, and emergency rooms. And community members and stakeholders view MCRs as an important component of local crisis response. Research also shows that people served by MCRs are highly satisfied. MCRs are effective at building relationships and connecting people with services. They decrease hospital usage for people in crisis and decrease interactions with criminal justice institutions. This research also shows that the broader services Cahoots provides in comparison with services like Lane County's mobile crisis is crucial for why these models are so effective. Research suggests that awareness of mobile crisis programs is important for success. Dispatches and residents know to call Cahoots, and clients want Cahoots. I can attest to this. I spent my summer interviewing people experiencing homelessness in Lane County, and multiple participants described Cahoots as essential to accessing services. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa and May. Our next speakers are Stacy Bierma Welch, followed by Stefan Streck.
Hi. My name is Stacy Bierma Welch, and I live in Ward 5. Thanks for letting me speak tonight. I'm here in support of Cahoots. I have a family member who's neurodivergent and schizoaffective, and we've used Cahoots many times, and he's been most successful with that kind of advocacy at the hospital where, you know, just walking in. Last time he went on his own and tried to get into the behavioral health unit, and they wouldn't take him there. They wouldn't send him there. They said he didn't qualify without having that kind of advocacy, someone to root for him. I also was a volunteer at Whitebird Front Rooms and at Egan, and I'm a current volunteer at Raven. We're doing services downtown behind the church, and I have a lot of direct experience with Cahoots, and it's a tragedy to not have that. It's rough out there on the streets for people, and you know, we're putting Band-Aids on broken bones. You know, there's just not enough resources for everybody. So having that, knowing that resource is there, even if it's going to get a sandwich or whatever minimal resources that we have, it really helps stabilize people. And knowing that they can call Cahoots when they need it, I really think it's crucial to keeping people from dying and keeping them as level-headed as they can be in the situation that they're in. I also think it saves the money for the police, and I think the library is really important. You know, it's a lot of people spend a lot of time at the library because it's the only place they can get out of the weather now, and hope that we can all work together and keep providing these services to get people stable and get them off the streets. Thanks.
Thank you, Stacy. Our next speakers are Stefan Streck, followed by Waffles Hidalgo.
Thank you, everybody, for coming down tonight and speaking out in favor of both Whitebird and the clients who are severely underrepresented, clearly. I think I'm probably one of the people who's been most inconvenienced in the past by Whitebird's activities. I used to live just about a block and a half away for almost 3 years. And every single day, I would see some of the most abject poverty just in the world. People that are on the brink of death in this city. In the world today, there are about 3.5 billion people who live on less than $7 a day, $6.82. And this city cannot manage a $1 billion budget to make essential services last. It's a disgusting level of waste and negligence and incompetence, really, truly. And the building we're in today actually really expresses that. We were supposed to have a brand new city hall, which was going to be built where the old one was. 40% of the materials were supposed to be recycled from the old building. That didn't happen. And that's quite questionable. So instead, we have a glorified utility building that can't even fit a decent audience. And we're going to continue cutting necessary services for people who could die without them. Just down at the park blocks, the shelter was removed because too many poor, destitute people were huddling underneath it to get out of the rain, city manager. That seems like an odd, cruel, and heartless solution to the eyesore of poverty is to remove shelter from those who have no place else to go. Anyways, I question the audacity, Karen, that you sit in that seat after failing such an important project for all these people. And I really hope you do better for the next 4 years, because this is an inexcusable failure. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Our next speakers are Waffles Hidalgo, followed by Laurel Lizovskis.
Hello, my name is Waffles Hidalgo. I'm from Ward 7 and a member at large of the Train Song Neighbors Neighborhood Association. I'm here in support of Cahoots, and at this point, I have nothing else to add to the amazing speeches of my community members, but maybe I'll tell you my story. I moved here 6 years ago from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and was dropped here on my butt and didn't know if I wanted to stay here. And to be honest with you, the one thing that made me proud about living here was Cahoots. And that inspired me to become a small business owner. And I now own my own small business. And I see it as a service to my community. And yeah. What's up, y'all?
Thank you, Waffles. Our next speakers are Laurel Lizovskis, followed by Deborah McGee.
Hello, my name is Laurel Lizovskis, and I'm a constituent of Ward 2 and also a Cahoots worker of 10 years. Last week, Cahoots saw almost 80% of its staff laid off by Whitebird, and I stand here now in the wake of an ended contract and a perfect storm of complicated funding issues that have effectively erased us from working in Eugene. But we've been on this road together for 35 years. Cahoots Community Survey, recently conducted by Portland State University Masters in Social Work, candidate Elise Kohlauer report that 78% of fire and police in both cities agree that Cahoots benefits their departments, and 98% of our stakeholders, including community members, agree that Cahoots is an essential part of public safety. Nationally, we've become a part of the public safety ecosystem that provides non-forced responses that reduce violence and harm and center people's agency, which empowers all of us and leads to effective outcomes. Sorry, I'm so nervous. We are the least expensive public safety response that dispatch can deploy in the field. We save money every time we resolve someone's needs without taking them to the hospital, and every time an officer or a paramedic and all of their equipment doesn't have to respond to a call. We improve public spaces by supporting connections to shelter and safety. We save lives and dignity every time we prevent someone from having to go to the hospital in handcuffs. We take care of welfare checks, public assists, and many other aspects of our safety landscape that can't be compartmentalized into strictly behavioral health. Also, as we all know, behavioral health exists in combination with things like substance dependence and medical issues and shouldn't be seen as separate. Healthcare is integrated. But the county crisis team, the other service available, has a lot of exclusionary criterion and only responds to behavioral health and do not respond to calls that are combined with a medical issue or a substance dependency issue or any other complicating factor. In 2027, the Citizens Advisory Board for the Community Safety Initiative will be measuring things like response times for officers to get to non-emergency calls and how many calls that just go unanswered. And though Cahoots does not receive funds from the payroll tax, if you use April 7th as a data point, you're going to see the impact of this loss. To the Cahoots workers, our relevance and validity is a no-brainer. We want to be your cushion of support. The data reflects that we deserve to be here, and we cost less than the other arms of public safety. Considering
Laurel, your time is concluded. Our next speakers are Deborah McGee, followed by Brett Deaton.
Thank you, and please a reminder, waving of hands and silence for support is fine, but please adhere to our agreements in this room. Thank you.
Years. The power of the people is greater than the people in power. So now is our time, now is our hour. What did you do, our grandkids will say, the minute the hour our democracy was slipping away? Did you think, hang tight, it'll all go away? Stay the course for another day? Or did we see the emperor with no clothes running through the night? Did we get angry, decide to stand up and fight? We don't have years. The climate breakdown is here. The crisis getting worse year after year. Unbelievable to lose Roe v. Wade. It took 60 years of activism to free the slaves, 100 years for women to win their rights, and 18 years of struggle, civil rights fights. Floods, fires, droughts, oh my, and our federal leadership is out of its mind. Ignoring weather sirens, red lights flashing so clear, they are focused on wrecking our republic, and it may be near. It's not looking good for our species' long-term survival. For a reality check on reparations, we need a revival. So you, the city of Eugene electeds, don't tell us what you're going to do. Show us that you mean it's true. We've been coming here 10 years or more. Electrify everything. You know the score. No new gas. Make a policy. Find something you can pass. We know it's heating up the planet, natural gas. It's methane. And to continue its use is frankly insane. We got your backs. We'll walk through glass for you. But you got to do your part too. Oh, the power of the people is greater than the people in power. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Deborah was speaker number 30. Speaker 31 is Brett Deaton and will be followed by Alex York.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brett Deaton. I'm the president for your local firefighters, Local 851. First off, I want to thank Councilor Krasinski. Thank you for riding along on our medic unit the other day, getting that experience. I still offer that to all of you. If you want to come join us on the medic unit for a day or an engine, we can provide that opportunity for you. That being said, tonight we just released a tool that will allow the community to be notified when we're out of ambulances and out of fire engines. You can go to help.eugenespringfieldfire.com, and that'll allow you to sign up for those notifications. Just to be clear, the site does not represent the department or the cities. It represents the views of the union. We're just trying to share real-time data of when we run out of resources. Just some quick numbers from the day. We've been down to one ambulance between Eugene and Springfield. We have 250,000 residents. We've been down to one ambulance 8 times today, and we've been out of ambulances twice today. And that's actually been a calm day for us. Yesterday, we were down to one ambulance 5 times, out of ambulances 4 times, and over half of our engines were out at one point during the day. We just bring these up as key tools for us to all look at as public and citizens to look at what our public safety looks like and how stretched thin we are in Eugene Springfield Fire. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. Our next speakers are Alex York, followed by Dawn Hetty.
Councilors, my name is Alex York. I work at the downtown Eugene Public Library. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and not of the city. I directly serve the people in our community who need the resources that Cahoots provides. On a daily basis, we have adults experiencing mental health crisis, minor but impactful medical needs, and other care that is irreplaceable from professionals who are not police or the fire department. Although those of us at the library care immensely, we lack the proper training and resources to give our vulnerable community the care that it needs, while also providing a myriad of other library services. As library staff, we have leaned heavily on Cahoots for our own safety while dealing with escalated mental health situations, sometimes multiple times a day. Cahoots has a rapport and expertise that filled many gaps that the city has in providing housing, harm reduction, and mental health care to our community members that would provide at least immediate relief and also create a path for longer-term care. Relying on Lane County's mobile crisis unit or police-based counselors who work for the city hasn't had the same impact with our patrons as Cahoots does. More than once, I observed patrons having mental health crisis and situations and being immediately de-escalated just by the presence of Cahoots because of the rapport that they've built. And they've worked so hard to build a relationship with people that are used to being so resented for lack of resources by police and by fire and EMS. And they also lack the resources to truly help a lot of these people. Cahoots should be 100% funded by the city and the city of Eugene, and the community wanted to prioritize the service in 2021 when deciding the CSI funding, and now we need it more than ever. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Our next speakers are Dawn Hetty, followed by Tizok Arenhas.
Good evening, friends, both old and new. Don Hetty, Ward 7. Lacking orchestration, a chorus edited, taken as a whole, allegory. Chock full of simile and metaphor, Carnival 9, First Impression, Part 2. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside. There behind the glass stands a real blade of grass. Be careful as you pass. Move along, move along. Come inside. The show's about to start. Guaranteed to blow your head apart. Rest assured you'll get your money's worth. The greatest show in heaven, hell, or earth. You've got to see. It's a dynamo. You've got to see the show. It's rock and roll. Oh, right before your eyes. See the laughter from the skies. And he cries until, he laughs until he cries. Then he dies, he dies. Soon the gypsy queen, in a glaze of Vaseline, will perform on a guillotine. What a scene, what a scene. Next upon the stand, will you please extend a hand to Alexander's ragtime band. Dixieland, Dixieland. Roll up, roll up, roll up, see the show. Performing on a stool, we've a sight to make you drool. 7 virgins and a mule. Keep it cool, keep it cool. We'd like it to be known, the exhibits that were shown We're exclusively our own, all our own, all our own. Come and see the show. See the show. Carl Palmer's still with us.
Thank you, Don. Our next speakers are Tisoc Arenas, followed by Chris Rampala.
Can you hear me okay? Great. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll keep my statements brief as I know I don't have much time. My name is Tisoc Arenas, Ward 8, and I'm an officer and member of Teamsters Local 223, and on the board of the Eugene Springfield Solidarity Network. And I'm here standing in solidarity with our Cahoots Teamsters Local 206 family tonight. I have to say that I think it's terrible what our community is going to lose because of what's happening to Cahoots workers, because of the layoffs by Whitebird. It is shameful that the community is losing such vital services, and I'm not just here saying this as a Teamster tonight in support of my fellow Teamsters, but I'm also saying this as a community member who votes in this community and cares about the well-being of its citizens. I recall some of my own neighbors being cared for by Cahoots workers, and that makes me proud that my union family is doing the kind of work that saves lives every day. I hope whatever comes next is to the benefit of these workers in the community, because the program and these workers provide something that not everybody can provide. Their commitment to this work is astounding, and I hope this board makes the right choice, whatever that may be, whenever that may be, moving forward to support these workers and this community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tisoc. Our next speakers are Chris Rampala, followed by Carrie Lieberman.
Howdy, y'all. My name is Chris Rampala, Mayor, City Council. First of all, I'm a nurse at Riverbend. I want to make very clear that I'm not speaking on behalf of my employer. I'm here on behalf of the Oregon Nurses Association. I live in Ward 1, and as many of us in this room know, Cahoots is a critical part of public health and safety in Eugene. Sorry. For more than 35 years, Cahoots has served as an alternative non-police crisis response for people experiencing mental health emergencies, substance use issues, and homelessness. This program is nationally respected and has been modeled by other cities across the nation as a compassionate, trauma-informed response that saves lives and keeps people out of jails and our emergency rooms. In 2024 alone, Cahoots responded to nearly 17,000 calls with an average of 46 calls per day. This is not a fringe service. It's a core to a public safety in Eugene. This abrupt closure leaves a massive hole in our community's crisis response. Eugene now lacks a reliable, non-police option for responding to people in mental health crises. Emergency departments like ours at Riverbend are already overburdened and will see more people arriving in acute crisis because they have nowhere else to turn. Other services like mobile crisis don't offer transportation or have housing navigation, and there is no true replacement for what Cahoots offered. The city must act now to restore or replace these services. Eugene should immediately explore emergency bridge funding to reinstate Cahoots services, even on a limited basis. As a nurse, I see firsthand how vulnerable people fall through the cracks when there is no one there to catch them. I and the over 1,500 nurses I represent at Riverbend and over 23,000 members of the Oregon Nurses Association urge the City Council to act quickly, transparently, and with urgency. Our community depends.
Thank you, Chris. Our next speakers are Carrie Lieberman, followed by Scott Oakley.
Good evening, Mayor and City Councilors. My name is Carrie Lieberman. I'm the Executive Director of Green Hill Humane Society and the Chair of Lane County Community Organizations Active in Disaster. I've lived in Eugene for more than 30 years, currently live in Ward 2, and have worked as a nonprofit leader in this community for over 20 years. I'm deeply concerned about our city's budget. The revenues brought in through taxes and fees don't match the rising costs of running the city, maintaining critical infrastructure, and providing the vital services that keep Eugene safe, healthy, and livable. Without raising more revenue, there will be an impact on programs and services that thousands in our community rely on every day. In difficult times, it may seem easiest to begin with cuts, but for many in our community, the unhoused, the elderly, and families living paycheck to paycheck, even minor reductions in public services can have devastating, sometimes irreversible consequences. As someone whose organization serves both vulnerable people and animals, and collaborates with dozens of nonprofits supporting low-income residents, seniors, youth, and individuals in crisis, I can tell you plainly, we cannot afford to lose essential city services. These services are lifelines, not luxuries. Public buildings and spaces aren't just symbolic. People depend on them. Nonprofits rely on accessible city spaces to deliver services effectively. During disasters, ice storms, wildfires, heat waves, those same city buildings become life-saving havens. If those doors are closed or understaffed, the results could be tragic. Cutting city services would be short-sighted. While it may offer temporary savings on paper, the long-term cost, socially and financially, will be far greater. When nonprofits like Greenhill partner with the city, we multiply the impact through private donations and volunteers. However, undermining our ability to operate would only push those costs back onto the city, onto our community, and result in an increase in suffering for our most vulnerable community members. I strongly support the implementation of new revenue strategies, starting with the fire service fee. If needed, I urge you to place it on the ballot this August. It's a modest investment that will sustain critical services for all of us. The funds stay here in Eugene and support programs we rely on every day. When the time comes, this community will be behind you and vote to support the fire fee. Councilors,
Thank you, Carrie. Your time is concluded. Our next speakers are Scott Oakley, followed by Brittany Farrow.
Scott Oakley, Ward 2. I hope you have had an opportunity to read the full text of my comments from the last meeting that I was unable to complete. I do support the fire service fee. I understand that there are issues with funding here in Eugene. I understand that at this point, because this has been forced onto the ballot, you have most likely already instructed the Budget Committee to find $11 million worth of cuts. However, we here in Eugene, we consider ourselves a left-of-center progressive community. You do not need to cut our community. You need to find other places to cut that money. Curtail some capital improvement projects. Find some other things that you had planned to purchase that you can put off. Do whatever you can to support our community. Keep our parks open. Keep our pools open. Keep all the employees that will potentially be fired under this budget situation employed. Many of them are only part-time employees, have no benefits, and they are just surviving on those funds. Find the money to support Cahoots. My gosh, this is just plain ridiculous. There are places you can find money, and you need to do it, other than cutting our community. If you expect the left-of-center progressive community of Eugene to support you, then you need to support us and our community. I understand there are problems with the revenue collection. I understand that measures 5 and 50 were basically designed to slowly strangle our community, and it effectively has done so. So I think there's something else that needs to be done. Yes, we need to support the fire service fee, but we also need to start mounting an effort to repeal 5 and 50 and give control back to the local people who should have control over revenue creation and support our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Our next speakers are Brittany Farrow, followed by Patrick Driggett.
Hi, I'm Brittany Farrow, and I'm not speaking on behalf of former or current employers, but I've been a physician assistant in this community providing neurological care for the past 11 years. And I am urging you to quickly reinstate funding for Cahoots. I've used their services over this time frame, and Cahoots specifically, not another service that can fill their void, as you've heard. I've used their services due to their legacy of safe and compassionate care. They truly help to offload services for the police officers. They certainly help triage patients through our hospital system effectively, so that the people who need to be there get the help that they need, and that the people who don't need to come in through the emergency room don't overburden a continually overcapacity system that we have right now in our hospitals. As an outpatient provider, I have called Cahoots many times for patients calling my clinic feeling suicidal or having acute mental health crises. Mental health crises come hand in hand with neurological disorders, and I can't do my job without the services of Cahoots. I supply their information to help my patients' family members help to take care of them at home. When they ask me, what can I do for this condition? I have to give them resources, and without Cahoots, I don't have appropriate resources I need that can actually match the situation and provide appropriate intervention. Additionally, I work in a hospital setting now, and I manage patients who have attempted or completed suicide. And I can tell you right now that in the cascade of suicidal ideation, there's an impulsivity period where we are able to have Cahoots come in and intervene. And if they can intervene in that impulsive situation, they can save lives. And I am very, very frightened to see what's going to happen without them in our community and what that's going to look like for our hospital system.
Thank you, Brittany. Our next speakers are Patrick Driggett, followed by Danny Patch.
Madam Mayor and City Councilors, my name is Patrick Driggett. I'm a resident of Ward 4. During a town hall at University of Oregon last week, we learned just about how much Cahoots does for us, which Lauren earlier so eloquently presented. To recap, the broad community, EPD, and Eugene Springfield Fire view Cahoots positively and add to public safety. I don't know about you, but I don't think there's a lot of other things that the activists of the city and the police agree on. So I think, yeah, Cahoots earned that trust over 35 years. Cahoots is well understood and a highly impactful third member of public safety, which cannot be said of MCS, I might add. I think we also know what it costs to maintain a police department, and we're even more personally aware of how much medical care costs. And we should see that and understand and surmise that Cahoots is extremely cost efficient while providing services that are complementary to EPD and Eugene Springfield Fire. They're not a replacement, they're a part of a public safety triangle. It's my belief that the City Council should treat this situation as a public safety emergency and immediately work with former Cahoots staff to prioritize getting them back on the road 24/7 while covering 100% of their extremely favorable rate, where their staff can be paid a living wage. It would be an error to address this as a line item expense that cannot be budgeted, as the monetary and human cost increase to not having Cahoots on the is far higher. We need them on the road. Borrowing my friend's words, you need to talk with the fired Teamster Cahoots workers about how to get their van back on the road ASAP. Mobile crisis response is not a replacement. Pay these union workers the wages they deserve and get these passionate, skilled, brilliant workers back out helping on the streets. Reallocate the safety payroll tax to fully fund Cahoots workers, or you're not going to see support for continuing this misguided payroll tax when you come asking for it again in 2027. With my remaining time, I would like to share that I am disappointed that most of our city councilors did not use their time to present items of interest to include the Cahoots situation. We reached out, I know I did. You must have been aware of the situation. I saw you talking about it beforehand in the lobby. You represent us and we are not happy. And if this isn't an item of interest, then your election won't be of interest to us.
Thank you, Patrick. Our next two speakers, including our final speaker, given our 90-minute cutoff, are Danny Patch and Cameron Stringfield.
Good evening, Dan Patch. Madam Mayor, you have a morality crisis on your hands. You have members in your council that are out soliciting funds from public and other groups to fund this SOS campaign, and they're not being honest. They're not disclosing to these people that they're trying to fund these obviously valuable services, but they're also going to be eliminating the future right of us to vote on anything in the future. That's being omitted. I wonder if Mr. DeFazio was made aware of that before he spoke at the most recent meeting for SOS. It's just disingenuous. It's a lie. Lies can be what you say, and they can also be what you don't say. So your members on your board are doing some real shenanigans behind your back. Now, obviously, this whole thing about financial crisis here is self-made by the city manager. It's either incompetence or it's funny business with the math, buying things that you can't afford, buying brand new houses that you can't afford, while you just trash all of our programs. That's what you did. Isn't it funny that the amount of deficit is the same amount of money you paid for this building? And if you hadn't bought a brand new house, maybe we wouldn't be here. I mean, it really is self-causing. And it's gross incompetence and trickery from the city manager's office. There needs to be an audit of how this building was purchased, and I think the public would be shocked. Now, I'd like to say something about cahoots. I think there's alternatives. One thing we're not talking about is, why don't we look at the Parks and Recreation Open Spaces budget? It's heavily overmanaged. It's got a golden budget. You've already eliminated that from our public vote. I'd rather put up with some long grass or brown grass all summer and save valuable programs like Cahoots. Maybe don't water the grass. I'd like to know what would happen if Cahoots was allowed to show up on scene before the city police. Maybe Ryan Salisbury or Brian Babb might still be with us, but instead they got shot. It's a no-brainer. But the bottom line here is that you're lying to us. You're being.
Thank you, Danny. Your time is concluded. Our next and final speaker is Cameron Stringfield.
Good evening, Council. My name is Cameron Stringfield. I live in Ward 7. I'm a member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation, and I'm a very activist in this city. First of all, thank all the people that have spoke tonight in support of Cahoots. This is very important. I got to be the last speaker, so I'll channel some rage. Although I thought this was supposed to go until 10, and I know I'm not the last speaker, so I'm a bit confused about that. But the closure in Cahoots of Cahoots in Eugene is just another shameful example of services lost that benefit our community in a very important way. Examples include University District Hospital, the Hourglass Community Crisis Center, the Whitebird Front Rooms, now Cahoots. You're also trying to criminalize mutual aid. Food Not Bombs and Neighbors Feeding Neighbors are just trying to feed our community, and yet you go after them and try to criminalize them and make that impossible. And then while all of this is going on, and you also want to cut the library, the fire department, et cetera, while all of this is going on, the police get more funding, corporations and the wealthy get tax exemptions, and we get left in the dirt. Working class people in Eugene are struggling to pay for their needs. The rents are too damn high to pay. The groceries are too damn expensive to buy. We're struggling to eat. We're struggling to live. Most people are one emergency away from homelessness, and look how the homeless are treated here. It's illegal to exist outside. It's shameful. The people of Eugene won't stand this, as you see tonight with all the people that are here. The working class people in Eugene will not stand this, and you will see resistance if you continue to serve the ruling class in the future, which is what you're doing. The interests that you're serving are not the people in this room, it's the ruling class. Separately, while I have time, I want to ask you, there is a crisis in the United States right now with ICE deportations. And I want to ask for a clear statement on what is the city's relationship with ICE, and how is the city working to protect our immigrants and foreign students in Eugene and their First Amendment rights. And I support the students at U of O that are being targeted right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Cameron. Mayor, that was our final speaker.
Thank you all, and thank you to everyone who has joined us for public comment this evening. Any comments from City Council? See, Councilor Zelenka, Ward 3.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Cahoots is a fantastic model of service on the streets. And I believe it's a great service to our city. There's no debate about that. There isn't a person up here that doesn't understand the value of it, and the value of it is evidenced by all the great stories that everybody told about how many lives were saved by Cahoots. And so everybody supports Cahoots. The sad fact is that our society doesn't really value and fund mental health and substance abuse services. Oregon recently was 50 out of 50 states for mental health spending per capita, 50 out of 50 states for substance abuse spending per capita. And that makes Cahoots that much more important. But to be clear, it's not the city of Eugene that caused the contract to be terminated with Cahoots and Whitebird. We merely agreed with Cahoots to end the contract that they could no longer fulfill. So about 2 or 3 years ago, we gave Cahoots over $1 million. They gave back almost all of that because they couldn't spend it. And those problems have continued at Whitebird and Cahoots. And for those of you that care about Cahoots and that service, to keep working with us to solve the problems there and to stabilize Whitebird and Cahoots and save those union jobs. But above all, vote for the fire fee, which is essential to keeping Cahoots. Without the fire fee, we'll be making $11.5 million in cuts to many valued services in the city, and it would be difficult, if not impossible, to restore Cahoots without the fire fee. And Mr. Fitzgerald, are you here still? No, you left. It's not an empty threat that these services that we clearly listed many times at public meetings will be cut. We had, if you had done your homework, you would have realized that over the past several years, we've cut $67 million out of the general fund. That's out of a $200 to $180 million general fund. So we have the lowest per capita employees in 16 years in the general fund, lowest general fund spending per capita in 16 years, all that while adding an entire city of Springfield into Eugene. And so there's little to no fat or inefficiencies to be cut. We already did all of that. And any deficit in the general fund now requires wholesale cuts to services and reductions in services. We have to balance our budget every single year. Don't have a choice. So it's by law we have to balance it. So besides Cahoots, without the fire fee, we're planning to cut animal welfare program, gone. Close the library for 1 to 2 days. Reduce park maintenance. Homelessness services, human services funding, kids sports, boys and girls club, Amazon pool, closing Sheldon Community Center, neighborhood services, and ironically, closing a fire station without the fire fee.
Councilor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. I was really looking forward to saying, I really agree with Councilor Zelenka. I was ready to say it, and I was in absolute agreement with him right up until the end there. But the last part was completely untrue. We haven't even begun to talk about what we're going to cut or not going to cut, but the first part was absolutely right. Let's be really clear. Nobody at this table voted to defund Cahoots. Nobody. None of us think it's a good idea. No one has voted to do that, okay? All of us voted to fund them fully in our last budget. We didn't fire Whitebird. They quit. There's a fundamental difference. We contracted with them. We made a deal. Here's a service we really want to buy. We want you guys to do it. You're great at it. And so we budgeted it. Everybody up here agreed. Here's the money to do it. And they couldn't fulfill the contract. Whitebird said, sorry, we can't fulfill the contract. It sounds to me like the people who actually do the work at Cahoots have a disagreement with the people who run Whitebird, but I'm not going to step into that because I don't know the details. But that's it. Just one guy in our city. That's what seems to me to be some part of the miscommunication that needs to be addressed. But everyone up here thinks that Cahoots is doing fantastic work and badly wants them to continue. And I believe we do have the money in our budget to do it. But it's Whitebird who has said, we're not going to run this business of running Cahoots anymore. And so that's what needs to be addressed. this is information we've literally just gotten in the last week or two, and I suspect the city's going to act to do some things. I know that the county has decided to take some action, but I got to tell you, it sounds from up here like y'all are under the impression that we made a decision to stop having cahoots, and that's just not the case. So I want that part to be clear. And I never in my life thought I would say this, but I'm really, really sad today that the Register Guard really doesn't exist anymore in the sense that we don't have a well-informed community that everybody gets the same information about as well anymore. I think that is causing more strife in our community than is necessary to have less than good information available publicly for a conversation that is badly needed. So, thank you.
Councillor Ye.
Thank you, Mayor. So first, I want to thank everyone for coming here tonight to show your support for Cahoots and for all the other topics, but I'm going to stick with Cahoots. I've called Cahoots myself because there was no one else to call. And I have witnessed them interacting with people in our community, and I was honestly impressed with those interactions. Their professionalism, their compassion, their communication skills was exactly what I needed when I made those calls. And I think Victoria's story is a great example of how one interaction from the right person can make all the difference in the world. I am not going to pretend that I understand all the details that Whitebird is dealing with that led to this decision or why it seemed to happen so suddenly, but I do understand what Cahoots means to this community. And while I can't promise to fix everything, what I can promise is that I will continue to work to understand the situation and what the options are that the city has. This service is vital. I do agree with that. It is not necessarily replaceable by Lane County. I think, as some people have articulated, there are some differences that are important. And lastly, I can't remember who mentioned, it was Chris, I believe, that mentioned it, to make sure that all this information is very transparent and very out in the community so that as we're learning, everyone else is learning, so we all have the same information, and if folks feel like the information we're getting isn't accurate, there's an opportunity to have those conversations. I know the folks at the meeting that was at the U of O, I had a police commission meeting and couldn't make it, but I'm in conversations with them to meet and learn about their side and the things that they presented in that meeting that I missed. And I just want to thank people for coming out and spending a hot evening here with us when you could be doing other things I'm sure you'd rather be. And that's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Councillor Groves.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, everybody who showed up tonight. In fact, I'm going to make a motion in a minute here to extend. I doubt it'll pass, but I'm going to at least try so we can hear more people. A young woman earlier tonight said that the city was only paying $200,000 a year for Cahoots. That is not true. We spent almost $2 million this year for Cahoots, $1.5 million out of the general fund, $250,000 from the CSI tax, and $165,000 for the Cahoots vehicles. We do think this is important. It is an important service. In fact, I'm probably the only person in the room here who can say, as a firefighter, I was on one of the very first calls that Cahoots ever ran in 1989. And they showed up and hopped out of this beat-up white van, and we're going, what the heck is this? And they turned out to be wonderful. So anyway, with that said, I apologize for making a motion without saying something to begin with, but I move we extend for another 30 or 45 minutes to give more people a chance to testify.
Second.
Any council discussion? Is that, 30 or 45? 45 minutes is the clarification.
Are we able to set a smaller time per person so that we can get through everybody? $90 seconds.
We may not get all the way through it. I just, you know, people have invested a lot of time here. You know, it's important that we
Please, while the
listen.
council is speaking, please refrain from any outbursts. Thank you.
I'm
We
on your
appreciate
side.
it.
It's important that we listen to you, but it's also important you listen to us when we're talking, please. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second to extend for 45 minutes, keeping the 2-minute and 30-second time attached to each public comment.
Mayor,
Yes, Councillor Keating, thank you.
move to substitute 45 minutes to 30 minutes, reducing time to 1 minute per speaker.
Councillor Ye.
I'll just speak as as someone who used to come to meetings. It's really hard if you come prepared to cut 2.5 minutes down to 1 minute. So it can be very disruptive, and like when you're already nervous, it's kind of a lot.
To the motion.
I'm not seeing a second for the motion, Councillor Keating.
Understood.
Thank you. There's a motion on the table to extend for 45 minutes with 2.5 minutes per person for public comment. All in favor? And Councillor Keating, I don't yet see a vote for you.
I haven't heard.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm looking at my small screen and there's a large. And the motion passes by a vote of 7-1. We will extend our meeting to staff. I'm going to need a time check and how this works to extend by 45 minutes. You know, we're outside of our 10-minute or 10 p.m. cutoff time. Need a little bit of guidance. Okay. Can I get a time check for when we would conclude this meeting?
Well, it's 9:42 now, so 10:30.
Thank you. 10:27, thank you for the extra clarification. And now, if possible, staff, we can return to our queue of speakers.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Speaker number 42, Vanessa Remnoff, followed by Sarah Kerr Daly. Is Vanessa, maybe it's a typo, Vanessa? All right, coming on up. Okay. All right, do we have Vanessa Remnoff? All right, not seeing any moves. I'll give it another call after I call Sarah Kerr Daly up. You are our next speaker.
Point of order, I'm sorry.
A point of order, yes.
Councilor Kaczynski and I'm sorry, I'm having a little moment here.
There were two counselors.
There were still two counselors who were in the queue to speak before we took the vote. Can they finish before we resume the public vote? Just so that we can.
Thank you. I'm so
finish the
sorry.
round?
That
No, that's a-
queue departed as we went into our motions and voting, and so I did not see that at all. My apologies to the two counselors. Councilor Kaczynski, I believe you are next.
I'm sorry, Sarah.
Thank you, community.
Thank you. I was going to echo some of the comments, particular that Councilor Ye made regarding Cahoots, seeing how important it was to our community, and I was going to express sympathy for those of you who came out and waited through all this heat and didn't get a chance to speak. But now some of you are going to get a chance to speak, so I will stop. Thank you.
And Councilor Leach.
Similarly, echoing just my appreciation for everyone who came out today. Just the power in this room of mental health counselors, QMHAs, Ps, lawyers, just the breadth of experience of people who are serving our community every single day, saving lives. It's powerful, and we do hear you. We appreciate you. Like Councilor Ye, I will be doing whatever I can in my power to help us continue to offer this to the community. So I'm not going to take more of your time to speak tonight. So thank you all. I'm looking forward to hearing from the rest of our speakers tonight. Thank you.
And Mayor, as a note, Councilor Keating was also in the queue.
Councilor Keating.
Mayor, I had a vote explanation as well as a comment.
Yes, please.
Vote explanation. I was hoping to allow for the maximum amount of participation while allowing for our workforce, for our staff, our dedicated public servants to get home in a reasonable hour, whether it's childcare or familial obligations, keeping our workforce past the time that we've agreed to is it doesn't sit well with me. Hence my ill-fated attempt to amend. Mayor and colleagues in community, I share a deep mourning for the loss of Cahoots, and I'm deeply saddened by Whitebird regularly realizing a dismal 20% retention rate, meaning 80% of the workforce annually leave Whitebird. Whitebird's inability to fulfill, or their apparent inability to fulfill their contractual obligation, Whitebird's apparent unwillingness to collect vital data necessary to capture critical federal dollars in the form of matching Medicaid dollars. As I understand it, the mobile crisis units will be able to. Just want to give thanks and appreciation to Allison, who made it abundantly clear that the mobile crisis units are not a one-to-one substitute. Clearly not. If the mobile crisis units are focused squarely on mental health and behavioral health, let's recognize that Cahoots did indeed engage in transports, wellness checks, housing navigation, critical de-escalation engagement, and crisis counseling. It would behoove folks to look up Oregon Senate Bill 973, passed in 2019, which mandates crisis response services in every county in the state. As the continuum of care, it's the mobile crisis Lane County program. It's entirely in their wheelhouse, Mayor. I see my time is up, and that was a quick 2.5 minutes. So I now hear myself that 1 minute might be impossible. So I stand with my colleagues. I look forward to hearing what you have to say. I'll turn off my mic right now. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Council, and thank you, staff, for our expended time. We're back to public comment.
Excellent. Sarah Care Daly, please come to the podium.
Actually, I was relieved when I thought I wasn't going to be speaking. So to be the first one, here I am. So another group of people that has not been mentioned is the caregiver, the family members who live with a severely mentally ill person. And I don't know if a lot of people realize, but there isn't respite. There isn't a break. If they go into the hospital and are held for 5 days, you sleep for 5 days without worrying about their safety. So for 15 years, a loved one's father and myself have been caring and keeping him sheltered and safe, and it has been exhausting, absolutely exhausting. And the stories I could tell, but I won't. So the reason I am here is to support Cahoots and to give them 1,000 thank yous, because what a lot of people don't realize is we live in a nice neighborhood in South Eugene. They come to our home when our son has been psychotic, sometimes hours in just really a difficult way, or days, and they can redirect. They have the skills to support and hear them and redirect that psychosis that is not manageable with medication. I hear so many people say, well, if they just took their meds. What a lot of people don't realize is those medications actually make them worse many times. And finding the right medication when you don't really have a community with expert psychiatrist and expert in mental illness. Mental health and mental illness are two different things. And mental illness, you need to really go to the East Coast to McLean Hospital. You need to go to a state that isn't ranked 50 out of 50 for mental health treatment. So when you are doing it on your own and you are the front line to them not becoming homeless or drug addicted or any of the things that when you are confused with your thinking you might become. So thank you, Cahoots. They saved us. They have helped him, and he is now 1.5 years doing really, really well because of a medication that actually works. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. This is one last call for Vanessa Remnoff or Vanessa Remnoff. I'm not seeing that person. Our next speakers are Tiffany Monroe, followed by Kelsey Moore. Do we have Tiffany Monroe?
Good evening, Mayor, City Councilors. My name is Tiffany Monroe. I work for the Eugene Area Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight and all of the effort that has been made in all these areas that has been spoken about this evening. I'm here to respectfully urge the City Council to repeal the fire fee and begin the important and difficult work of aligning our budget with existing revenues. The current budget shortfall is the result of long-term trends. For some time, the cost of delivering city services has grown faster than the revenues that support them. In the last 5 years, general fund expenses have increased about 3% annually, while revenues have grown at only 2.6%. From that perspective, a new fee may sound like a practical response, but it's a short-term lens that has led to many in the community, including over 8,400 who have signed the referral petition to ask for a pause and reconsideration. The pattern of expenses consistently outpacing revenues points to two broader issues. First, the need for more deliberate prioritization of services to fit within our current financial reality. And second, the desperate need to expand our tax base through growing community needs. I know many of you have been talking about these goals for years, and the fact that these conversations are still going generates some frustration from the public. The proposed fire fee, while well-intended, is not the right tool for this moment, especially when so many families and businesses are uncertain about their financial futures. We now need a renewed commitment to long-term solutions that include having a hard conversation about service levels and investments. And it means making economic growth, such as housing expansion, a true priority. I'm confident that with shifts in focus in that direction, the city will find willing partners among those that have signed the referral effort. We all want the same things. I think tonight that's been very clear and stated by all of you, so that we can have a Eugene that we want for all of us. We can get there if we all work together through transparency, clarity, and shared purpose. Thank you for the opportunity to testify tonight.
Thank you, Tiffany. Our next speakers are Kelsey Moore, followed by Katie Coy.
Good evening, Council. My name is Kelsey Moore, and I live in Ward 1, and I just want to say thank you, Mayor and Councilors, for being here today for a very long session. So I'm here to speak in support of Cahoots, and I'm really curious, along with you all, to better understand what's happening. I understand that Whitebird might be under new leadership, and I'm curious if that's an opportunity for the city to further the conversation about what a next phase of Cahoots would look like. And I'd like to urge the City Council to not approve a budget that doesn't include Cahoots when that comes around this summer. I'd really like also to hear more from the city in general to understand more about what the current budget for the upcoming year looks like, what was budgeted for Cahoots, and why Cahoots chose to end their contract. I'd like to understand more about the finances behind that, and I'd urge the city to share that with citizens, as we're all really curious to learn more. I've lived in Eugene for over 30 years. I've called Cahoots, as everyone testified, for friends, family, community members, and it would be a great loss to our community. But again, I'd urge you not to approve a budget that doesn't include Cahoots, and I'd really like to learn more about the finances, timing, and decision-making, and I'd like to see the city approach Whitebird and have further conversations about this possibility. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelsey. Our next speakers are Katie Coy, followed by Chris Elliott.
Good evening, I'm Katie Coy from Ward 2. I don't want to take up too much time, but just as so many others have said, I want to reiterate, Cahoots is a huge part of what made the city of Eugene so special and so safe for me in my undergrad years ago, and now that I live here year-round, working in childhood behavioral health. It's just something that, honestly, I'm ashamed to say I almost took for granted that it would always be there because it seemed like such a no-brainer and was such a part of the fabric of the community, and I'm realizing that I can't make that mistake anymore, so I'm not taking it for granted anymore, and just wanted to add my voice to the people who have spoken their support for Cahoots.
Thank you, Katie. Our next speaker is Chris Elliott. Is there a Chris Elliott in the room? Okay, I'm going to call the next speaker and then call for Chris Elliott one more time. Our next speaker is Megan Gardner. Is there a Megan Gardner in the room? All right. No Chris Elliott, no Megan Gardner. John Borofsky.
Okay, I'll keep it brief as well. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and City Manager, and staff. Thanks for the chance to speak with you this evening. I'm here to speak with you about the budget issues that you'll be contemplating in the coming weeks. I am someone who has had the ability to look at this issue from several perspectives. As a member of the revenue team, an elected official that may be called upon to facilitate collection of a fee, a small business owner, Chamber of Commerce member, as well as a resident of Eugene. I'm concerned about the situation that we find ourselves in as a community. It is my hope that you will be able to balance the many needs and priorities that the community wants and expects with the resources available. And if additional revenue is a needed option, work with partners to come to a solution that brings the community together in a timely fashion. The work you have ahead of you is complex and important, and I trust that you will do your best to lead this community through this difficult conversation. Thank you, and feel free to reach out if I can be of any help.
Thank you, John. This is one last call for Chris Elliott and Megan Gardner. All right, our next speakers are Nick Austin, followed by Marvin Revol. Is there a Nick Austin or a Marvin? I encourage anyone in the overflow seating area to move in here if you're on the speaker list. Are you Nick? Excellent.
Nick Austin, District 1. So this is directly from the Eugene City Council website. City Council Special Interests and Concerns. Eliza Kaczynski, Homelessness, Support Solutions that Reduce the Impacts of Homelessness for All Our Residents. Matt Keating, Mental Health and Vital Public Safety Investments, including Cahoots and community policing models that save lives and foster positive police-community relationships. Alan Zelinka, Human Services, Jennifer Ye, Public Safety Support Agencies that protect ourselves, our children, health, and property. Mike Clark, Enhanced Livability. Greg Evans, actually no listed interest in mental health care or human services, but at least you don't pretend to care. Lindsay Leach, Mental Health Prevention and Services. Randy Groves, employ realistic and effective solutions focused on outcomes to address homelessness. What do realistic and effective solutions look like when you have a national recognized mobile mental health crisis worker and Class B paramedic team that you allocate 2% of your police budget to when they take 17% of the calls to which the police would otherwise be dispatched? I worked full-time at this town's lowest barrier homeless shelter overnight for over 2 years in direct care of hundreds of unhoused people. Between medical and mental health emergencies, it's the kind of job that often requires calling in backup. Repeatedly, in the most harrowing moments of my professional life, these outstanding, exemplary frontline workers we call Cahoots were there for me when no one else was. And we are watching you stand here in front of the town you serve and pass the buck. This operation has needed more support from the leadership of this city for years, and you undermined them by repeatedly cutting them a crumb of the police budget and then creating a half-cooked supplemental program. Your supplement can't provide on-site wound care, so they transport more of our unhoused populations to wait half the day in an already full emergency room. Who will we send in the middle of the night to take care of our friends and family when someone is needed to be brave, face the crises, reverse the overdoses, de-escalate the traumatized, while exemplifying a humanistic approach? I say you do it. This is your mess. You can clean it up. Or with the exception of Councilor Evans, change your bullshit special interests and concerns on your goddamn website.
Thank you, Nick. This is one last call for Marvin Revol. Not seeing a Marvin. Our next speakers are Casey Spohr, followed by Phil Farrington.
Good evening, Casey Spohr. I don't know what ward I'm in, but I live in North Eugene. Thanks for extending time. I had a speech, but I'm going to shift. I would like to say that I don't think tonight is about a lack of education. I personally have heard you guys that you do support Cahoots. I think what people are asking is to do something. We're here hurting, scared, sad for our community, and we're saying, do something. We're begging you to do something. I don't work in healthcare, but my best friend works in healthcare, my husband works in healthcare, and I just had an experience with a very good friend where I witnessed firsthand, I witnessed the system fail her. I begged for help at the emergency room. I was told, I sat there with her until 3 a.m. until I couldn't anymore, and was told, you're probably not going to be seen. It could be tomorrow afternoon. I have a job and a family and a child, and I begged them to listen to me, and they didn't. I was told I could call the alternative mobile line, and I called them, and I begged them for help, and they said, well, it's past 11 p.m. And they said, well, we could send a police car. She wasn't going to get in a police car. It would have absolutely made the situation so much worse. And they said, or you can call us again tomorrow at 2 p.m. because people only have mental health crises between 2 p.m. and 11 p.m., even though I sat in the emergency room from 11:45 until 3:30 begging for help. Some people may be angry, maybe some people are uneducated, but I think more than anything, people are just here begging you to do something because you guys are the people that are in power. You guys are the people that we can do research, we can educate ourselves, but you guys are the ones that can actually do something. So we're begging you, please do, so I don't ever have to sit in an emergency room again with a friend who's in a psychotic episode who it ended in her committing a crime and hurting herself and somebody else before she was able to get help. Let's keep Cahoots around so that they can actually respond, maybe outside of 2 and 11 p.m. Thanks.
Thank you, Casey. Our next speaker is Phil Farrington, followed by Greg Irwin.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. Phil Farrington. I live and work in Ward 1. The city of Eugene, like all cities across Oregon, has been really dealt a pretty bad hand. Oregon does a really sorry job of funding public infrastructure of all kinds, everything from school to Cahoots to all public services. The fact that the proposed fire services fee that you've developed has been referred to the voters shouldn't really come as any surprise to you. The same or many similar factors facing the city's budget are the same ones that businesses and households have been facing in Eugene. Proposing another fee without an end date or with little or no cap on its potential increase was a bridge too far for too many in the community. And though represented as a way of addressing a structural deficit, the fee really doesn't solve the underpinning problem of mismatching available resources with the needs for public resources, public services, and infrastructure of all kinds. Allowing 5% annual increases authorized administratively or by any amount by the council without public approval doesn't give the public comfort that their funds will be necessarily applied to priority services the community needs. So I have two suggestions. One, that the fee that you propose be one for, if you do propose one, that it be for a limited and specific duration. And that in the meantime, you work with all other cities across Oregon, all other jurisdictions to lobby the legislature for an enduring solution to this structural deficit. And two, the city take a step back and do a deep analysis of services, performance, and value in a broader community collaboration rather than just wholesale cutting. I don't think dodging this kind of a budget is going to do us any good whatsoever. Such steps along the way should go a long ways toward promoting transparency in budgeting and governance and foster trust that the city is optimizing use of public resources. I really appreciate all of the service that each one of you give to the community, and thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Phil. Our next speakers are Greg Irwin, followed by Travis Johannes.
Good evening, Mayor Knutson, council members, and City Manager Mederi. My name is Greg Irwin. I'm the founder and CEO of Sapient Private Wealth Management here in Eugene. I reside in Ward 5. Thank you for allowing me a couple minutes to share some more positive thoughts, I hope, this evening. Before I do, however, I'd like to thank Mayor Knutson for bringing a fresh perspective and a new sense of diplomacy to the office of the mayor. I would also like to thank all of you councilors. Yours is a job most of us are unwilling to undertake. Thank you for your leadership. Finally, I'd like to thank City Manager Mederi for her unwavering commitment to the well-being of all constituencies in Eugene. You will leave a lasting legacy. I'm here this evening to simply express my great desire to see our community come together to problem solve and set an intentional course for long-term prosperity for as many Eugenians as possible. As a local business owner, I strongly believe that a robust, collaborative relationship between the business community, local governmental leadership, and the community at large can provide an opportunity to better leverage the financial, intellectual, and physical resources which abound here in Eugene. As a contributing designer and early investor in Elevate 2028, I would like to assure the council that the intent of the Elevate movement is for the business community to be more engaged in thoughtful and respectful dialogue with all of you, in pursuit of furthering the ongoing enhancement of this wonderful place we all call home. In my 42 years in business in Eugene, we have never seen more enthusiasm and willingness by the business community to work together and work with you. We are prepared to roll up our sleeves and work side by side with you to create new and innovative methodologies and solutions. This is a critical moment for our community, a moment for partnership, a moment for humility, a moment for listening, and a moment.
Thank you, Greg. Your time is concluded. Our next speaker is Travis Johannes, followed by Andrew Simran.
Hello, I'm Travis Johannes. I'm here as a community member. I do also work in social services where I interact with a lot of people who spend a lot of time working with Cahoots. One thing that really stands out to me is the absolute trust that people have in Cahoots. They will come to our site. They aren't even part of our program, but they know if they come, they ask for Cahoots. They don't ask for the police. They don't ask for anyone else. A lot of those people right now probably don't even know Cahoots isn't available anymore. They are going to have a crisis tomorrow and reach out for Cahoots and realize that they are SOL. I think Councilor Groves, you said, I believe, $2 million for Cahoots. How much for police? How much for curbside parking enforcement? A document online that I found said $9 million, $173 million for police. I believe it was $3 million for Microsoft 365. Like, if we cannot find enough money to fully fund Cahoots like we fully fund police, and we pretend to call them a pillar of our public safety, I don't know. I hope you all aren't the mayor and city council that lets Cahoots die, because that would not be a great legacy. Thank you all. See you all in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Travis. Our next speakers are Andrew Simran, followed by Kathy Shaw Bassett.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and City Manager. My name is Andrew Simran, and I reside as a homeowner in the River Road neighborhood. I'm here in support of electrifying and reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. Part of this, part of the climate crisis, many young people are having mental health issues with absorbing all of the changes that are going on in our world. And services like Cahoots can help prepare people for the physical and mental externalities that climate change brings onto the community. So I'd like to, again, support for electrification and support for Cahoots, and I'd like to yield the rest of my time so more people can talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm going to read the next 5 speakers just to give some situational awareness. We have Kathy Shaw Bassett, Lindsay Shields, Jasmine Hatmaker, and Kim Arscott. Is Kathy Shaw Bassett in the room? Is Lindsay Shields available? Excellent.
Good evening. My name is Lindsay Shields. I am the co-owner and co-director of Flex Studios, a local dance studio in the heart of downtown Eugene, home to 350 students and their families. Cahoots has been by far one of the most successful support systems throughout our 13 seasons downtown. Several years ago, my business partner Angela and I were unloading costumes, her 5 months pregnant. I looked up at our parking garage and saw someone standing there with blood dripping down the side. I knew right away it was vital to get to this person as Angela called for support services. After that day, I unknowingly received a life-saving civilians award from the police chief, praise for my efforts, something I realized after the fact I didn't want to have to receive. I'm a small business owner, a mother, many things, and on that day, I was taking on a job I was not trained for. This was not an isolated incident, and I have encountered many similar situations over the years. I stand firm in knowing that it takes all of us to create community, but there are times when I think we need to redefine what community means. Many times it means leaders go first. In the past 13 years, we have called on Cahoots hundreds of times, and what I have witnessed is when we continue to fill spaces, it creates impact and positive restoration to a seemingly hopeless situation. And I have a responsibility to make informed decisions to keep my clients, who are very community safe. In just the last few years, we have experienced sexually explicit content, unhoused humans in our alleyway showing need of mental health, drug deals, humans shooting up, human feces cleanup, and even watched a man pass on our front door. We keep Narcan on hand because we are community. We take pride in being the quiet helpers, doing our part. The journey to healing will be a challenge, but with programs like Cahoots, that goal seems much closer. As government continues to move the goalpost, you lose the people vital to the success of our unsuccessful systems. Healthy leaders dip out because they know how taxing it is for them as individuals, and in turn creates an imbalance. We understand it is up to the individual to choose healing, and to be a vital part of that example is something I do not take lightly. I believe that due to poor management of city funds, we have lost a successful program. If the expectation of me as a small business owner is to pay taxes, talk down someone from jumping off our parking garage, and distribute Narcan successfully, then certainly my expectation for the city is to be able to manage the funds allocated in a more productive and successful way. Thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing Cahoots as a staple of our city programs where small business owners can thrive, humans can heal, and dance teachers can get back to teaching dance. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. One last call for Kathy Shaw Bassett. Not seeing her. Jasmine Hatmaker. Excellent. After Jasmine will be Kim Arscott.
Good evening, Mayor, councilors, and members of the public. My name is Jasmine Hatmaker, and I live in Ward 5. I'm also from Eugene, so I have a genuine interest in the future of Eugene. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I want to focus on what I believe is at the heart of this conversation, how we build a city budget that actually works, not just this year, but 5, 10, and 20 years from now. The fire service fee may address an immediate need, but it doesn't solve the root issue. Eugene has a structural budget deficit, and this fee is a Band-Aid, not a cure. We can't keep patching holes while avoiding the harder but necessary conversations about long-term fiscal strategy. What we need instead is a priority-based budgeting process, one that looks at what services we truly need, like Cahoots, what we can afford, and how we make those two things match. That's going to take courage, and it's going to take leadership. It's time to change course. No one wants to see this become a divisive ballot fight, especially when there are urgent budget decisions ahead. I'm asking the council to repeal the ordinance and pursue an alternative path that includes a serious look at deeper, more strategic cuts. Let's also bring more voices into the room. A budget advisory committee made up of independent financial experts, community members, and business leaders could help restore public trust and surface creative solutions that haven't yet been considered. We all want Eugene to thrive. Let's take the harder road now to build a stronger foundation for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Our next speaker is Kim Arscott. All right, not seeing a Kim. Jim New. Brittany Quickhorner. After Brittany Quick Warner, I will call for Kim and Jim again, and then it'll be Eric Parrish.
Good evening, Mayor Knutson, councilors, members of the community. My name is Brittany Quick Warner. I'm the CEO of the Eugene Area Chamber of Commerce, and I appreciate the opportunity to share our perspective. Thank you for extending the time a little bit too. Let me start by saying this. We care deeply about this city, its people, its economy, its businesses, its future. Our chamber has stood by the city for years, supporting funding for essential services like public safety, parks, roads, libraries, and working on critical issues like downtown revitalization, homelessness, riverfront redevelopment, airport expansion, to name a few. That commitment has not changed. We also recognize the very real challenges you face today. We've had the honor as a community to have an incredible leader in Sarah Maderi at the helm as city manager for the last several years through a series of impossible situations. And yet again, we find ourselves in another difficult situation with tough decisions ahead regarding the fiscal sustainability of our community. We hear from our businesses and our community members every day. They are worried, not just about one fee, but about what lies ahead. A cooling economy, increasing costs, and uncertainty about how they're going to keep their doors open and their families afloat. Now is not the time to add new financial burdens without clear, time-bound plans and public accountability. Many Eugene residents, over 8,400 of them, signed a petition to bring this issue to a public vote. That's not obstructionism. That's community and civic engagement at its best. These are not just business owners. They're families and educators and workers and retirees, and they're saying, let us be a part of the solution. Let us have a say in permanent costs to our families. We know the contention of a citizen-led initiative public vote. That was never our first choice, and we don't think it's the best case scenario. We still believe there's a better way. Let's reset the conversation and come together to find budget reductions. Let's enlist community and business leaders to co-create a sustainable plan that prioritizes the services we know we need. Let's focus on efforts to proactively expand our current tax base to meet growing community needs like housing and economic development. And let's give the public a chance to weigh in on any new permanent fees. Leadership means making the hard decisions, which in this case is to rein in spending and realign priorities. It's not a moment to double down on what divides us. It's a time to pull together. And I truly believe Eugene has the people and the values and the will to find a better, more united solution. Thanks.
Thank you, Brittany. One last call for Kim Arscott or Jim Noon. Not seeing anyone come forward. Our next speaker is Eric Parrish, followed by John Williams.
Good evening, Mayor Knutson, honorable council members. My name is Eric Parrish, and I live in Ward 5. As a 43-year resident of Eugene, having lived or worked in every ward, I'm deeply invested in our community. Today, I'm here to express my concerns about the Eugene Fire Service fee and its potential impact on small businesses like mine. I serve as the CFO of Deployed Logics, a 12-year-old business out West Eugene that manufactures rapid deployment shelters for rescue services, including fire departments nationwide. Founded by 2 individuals, we've grown significantly and now employ 120 people across 3 facilities, all here in Eugene. This new fee will affect us in 2 ways. 1, as a business, we'll have to absorb the cost without passing it on to customers, meaning cuts elsewhere in our budget. 2, our employees, who will also pay the fee, may need higher wages to offset the burden. Unlike larger companies, we cannot simply raise prices or quickly find new revenue streams. Instead, we'll have to innovate, streamline operations, and make tough budget decisions to maintain profitability and future growth, all while staying rooted here in Eugene. As a CPA, I've spent my career helping small family-owned businesses manage budgets. The key is prioritizing core services like emergency services, investing in revenue-generating initiatives like economic development, and finding efficiencies in supporting services. My request is that I urge the city to repeal this ordinance and instead take a strategic approach, aligning expenses with revenues through innovation and prioritization, just as businesses must do. Thank you for your time and your service. I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Eric. Our next speakers are John Williams, followed by Robin Bloomgarden.
Hello, City Councilors. John Williams, Ward 7, with Equitable Access Eugene. Thank you for all being here to hear our voices today. I hope to bring just a piece of the puzzle. Our city is a hub for natural, organic, and indigenous lifeways. Broad, creative approaches to wellness are our pride. On the state government level, we have been on a swinging pendulum ride. Possession of any and all substances was sweepingly allowed in 2021 with Measure 110, a sort of Portuguese model minus the robust social services infrastructure. Last September, HB 4002 once again radically reversed course, recriminalizing controlled substances with a classification schedule that closely resembles Richard Nixon's Controlled Substances Act of 1970. Wow, that's a stark shift, and not a very nuanced shift. Thank you, Councilor Keating, for noting the recent advances in radical and extreme policy. Would you be surprised to learn that both the measure and the House bill enjoyed financial backing from celebrity billionaires? Our proposed resolution aims to bring community perspective and common sense back into this discussion. Thank you for your time, and please consider joining us in prioritizing the removal of dangerous drugs from our community. Our model is rooted in law enforcement's deprioritization of healing plants and fungi with long histories of promoting human flourishing. Grow, Gather, Gift has been a sound model in the U.S. for over 25 cities, saving time, money, and lives. Our full resolution can be read at equitableaccesseugene.org, and I look forward to speaking to all of you more.
Thank you, John. Robin has yielded her time, so our next speakers are Tim Swenson, followed by Bill O'Brien. Is there Tim Swenson in the room? All right, moving on to Bill O'Brien. Moving on to Mark Peabody. Moving on to Mika Scott.
Mika Scott, member of the community, and listening to everybody speak tonight and supporting Cahoots, which I do, made me think about the fact that we live in a country where our military budget is greater than the next 8 or 10 countries combined. That includes China and Russia and all the other countries in that field. So, and at the same time, we're cutting things like Medicaid and Medicare and possibly Social Security services that keep people alive. And I see the same pattern going on here, where a service that is essential to our community, to the health and well-being of our community, is being cut while the police are getting more money. It seems inhuman. It doesn't seem reasonable to do that any more than it does on our national level. It's going to bring the country down, and it's going to bring our community down. And people will fight back. And your jobs are going to be on the line because the community isn't going to stand for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mika. One last call for Tim Swenson, Bill O'Brien, or Mark Peabody.
Hi, I'm Mark Peabody. I want to talk about Cahoots tonight. I want to start by saying cardiologists, OBGYNs, brain surgeons, neurologists, what do they all have in common? We all know they're doctors, but they're also specialists. And the field of medicine is very, very complex. I am an EMT intermediate, and as such, I am a generalist practitioner. As an EMT, I work with several of the Cahoots responders. One of them is in this room. They are outstanding. But beyond that, they are specialists trained to work with a specific group of at-risk people. Well, the one biggest fear you have as a medical practitioner is that you're going to get it wrong. You're going to assess the patient incorrectly because you don't have that specific knowledge. And it's frightening when you get in that situation. I've watched these guys, and they have that kind of training, and it can't be replaced. I was working downtown in December. It was a cold winter night. You could see your breath. And I was coming home. I was by the library downtown, and I saw a man in a wheelchair. across the street from where I was parked. And being an EMT and wanting to help, I went over and said, "Hey, what's wrong?" First thing I noticed was he had this little lap robe that was lying in the street in the rain. He had a water bottle that was knocked over. He was incapable of reaching for the bottle. I asked him, "How can I help you?" And he said, "Can you please call Cahoots?" And he said, "Can you stay with me? I'm really, really scared. I have no place to go tonight." And I could smell urine on him. It smelled like he had a UTI, urinary tract infection. He was in bad, bad shape. So I waited with him for about 20 minutes, and Cahoots came up. They jumped right out of their van, and they said, "Hey, John, how are you doing?" They knew him. They knew his condition. They were familiar with him. That's priceless. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Mayor, it looks like we have time for one more speaker. Is that right?
Yes, thank you.
All right, Steve Gilbert, Linda Ague. All right.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Manager. My name is Linda Ague. I live in Ward 4. Thank you for allowing us time to speak, and thank you everyone still listening here tonight. I've been here on the issue of funding before, and quite frankly, I am not sure in whose hands the future of the fire fee and with it the library rests. So I am here speaking up for all those impacted by potential loss of city services like Cahoots, parks, fire, animal safety, police, but I am mostly here to speak up for the library. This weekend, the Friends of the Library held their annual giant book sale, made possible by hundreds of volunteer hours happily spent because they love the library. Approximately 77,000 people attended, and we sold approximately 30,000 items, of which 95% was mostly books. Books donated by many more than 7,000 people to the library so that we can recycle books to library lovers at a small cost, money which is then turned into materials and services provided by the library for free. If we are asked to chase the bottom line with a vote, what monetary value should we apply to this? We raised a bunch of money, but not enough to keep the library lights on and the staffing strong. That is the job for the city. There's a fire code that we are asked to respect as we welcome people to the sale. As a result, many people stood in line for almost an hour. A few of us delivered candy and chatted with the crowd as they waited. We talked about books, how lucky we were that it wasn't raining, the value of sour apple Jolly Ranchers, but mostly about what they hoped to find and why they had come. Many admitted they probably already had too many books, but they were concerned about the library. They thought the council had addressed the funding issue, but there were rumors that the library would be closed some days and that the staffing would be cut, and they did not want that. Some admitted that they had so many books in their own library they did not need to check things out. But the library was one of the things they were most proud of because of what it said about our city's commitment to literacy and inclusion. Where does that fit in our bottom line? We have watched in horror as our federal government has sacrificed the good of the people to their proposed bottom line. Let's not repeat that here. The fact is, it's hard to put a number on what we call security and even harder on the quality of life, but we know how it feels when we feel it. There are many times in history where individual preferences have been sacrificed for the greater good, and in the spirit of times make the man or the woman, leaders have emerged to make the public understand this. This may be one of the times, and I'm hoping in front of me is one of those people. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Mayor?
Thank you, everyone. I now will close our public comment period for the second time this evening and just want to reiterate some of what you've heard from this dais tonight, our appreciation for all of you who've come this evening to share your thoughts publicly at City Council. Any closing final comments from the council? I want to also thank our staff for staying here so late into the evening and everyone for being here tonight with us. And with that, I will close the April 14th, 2025 City Council meeting. We are adjourned.